Chapter 1305. Dong Wang Li's body could be seen being enveloped by a strange green smoke. From a single look, one could tell that it wasn't a good smoke. After all, how could a good smoke be green? It should at least be white. Qing Su's eyes, who was behind Yi Hua, lit up. He became very interested in the green smoke. Although this is the first time I've seen Little Honorable, I feel that Little Honorable has my own understanding of how vicious Little Honorable is. Qing Su, what is this? Yi Hua asked curiously, ignoring Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baiji who were beside him. As a poison master, Qing Su was able to distinguish it with his eyes. When Qing Ye heard that Dong Huang Li used poison, she immediately lost her composure. Just what is going on? They are even using poison. We are both siblings, is there a need to do this? When the Empress heard that her daughter actually used poison, her expression tensed up. She seemed to be not very happy. Your Honor, this should be a type of poison that causes people to hallucinate. Qing Su said respectfully. Yi Hua took a puff of the smoke, then returned his gaze back to the stage. In actuality, Qing Su was only looking at the poison with his eyes. In his heart, he felt that the poison was probably even more formidable than what he had imagined. After the Little Honorable returns, we can still exchange our insights with each other. Who knows, there might be some unexpected results and we might be able to concoct a different type of poison. All these years, Dong Huang Li had quite a lot of experience in concocting medicine. When she just entered Vein Break sect, she caused a huge commotion. This kind of situation lasted for a few years, and in the end, it was finally resolved. However, Dong Huang Li's prestige had already been revealed, causing everyone to be afraid of her. Only Mu Gao, who was not afraid of death, dared to confess to her. Yi Yan looked at his big sister and wrinkled his brows. Although he had heard of his big sister's prestige before, when he saw it now, he still felt very surprised. Big sister is really addicted to concocting medicine. If you are not going to go, I am going to go. Dong Huang Li said faintly. The poison that was surrounding her body seemed to have a life of its own as it transformed into a green poisonous snake and rushed straight towards Yi Yan. Everyone was startled. This is the first time I've seen something like this. Poison can be used in this way too. Even Qing Su's eyes lit up. Not bad. This is really not bad. Little Honorable is actually able to play around with poison, controlling it with qi, and even transforming the poison into a poisonous snake. Although it was a little gaudy, it was still pretty good in terms of aesthetics. All of Qing Su's poisons are formless. Although it is able to make it impossible for the enemy to guard against it, it lacks a kind of aesthetic value. Take a look at Dong Huang Li's poison. Dong Huang Li's aesthetic value is already there, and the poison has also reached the level of toxicity. From the looks of it, it is time for me to change my poisons. At the very least, he couldn't let the enemy die without knowing why. Yi Yan secretly cursed his sister for being despicable. She actually poisoned her brother. How could she play like this? If father knew that she used such a despicable method, he would definitely scold her. However, Yi Hua wouldn't blame Dong Huang Li because of this. After all, defeating your opponent is still defeating your opponent. Who cares what method you use to defeat your opponent? Only the dead would complain, the living will always be the victor. Divine Book of Music, Chapter 89, Void Rend. Yi Yan shouted in a low voice. Against this kind of poison, it was better to be a little more cautious. Only by using a top-notch defensive skill, space severing, could they be safe. After all, this was his sister, he could not be careless. Broken space wrapped around Yi Yan, creating a vacuum state. The poisonous snake that was transformed from the poison smashed onto space severing, then immediately dispersed and wrapped around Yi Yan. Right now, Qing Ye was so nervous that her palms were starting to sweat. I swear that I don't want to see children fight against each other anymore. Dong Huang Baiji was the same as well. Ali, you are the big sister, how can you poison your little brother? Of course, these were all women's thoughts. There was nothing for Yi Hua to worry about. Ali knows what to do. Even if is poisoned, Li will have the antidote. What Yihua thought was right, Donghuang Li indeed has the antidote. As long as we achieve our goal of winning, everything will be fine. She just wanted her brother to suffer a little. She wanted her brother to know that her sister was still her sister. If he followed her, there would still be a way out. Yi Yan looked at the surrounding green poison smoke, and his expression became a bit grave. The poison smoke actually didn't dissipate. Could it be creek? Yi Yan actually saw a crack appearing on space severing. He was instantly stupefied. Just what kind of fucking poison is this? This creak sound spread throughout the entire venue. Everyone's scalp went numb, and Qing Su even stood up. Your Honor. You must definitely introduce subordinate to little His Honor. Qing Su actually said with a voice that carried a hint of longing. Yihua asked curiously, what's wrong? Your Honor's poison is simply too mystical. Generally speaking, a type of poison only has one type of effect. However, little His Honor's poison actually managed to achieve two types of effects, and furthermore, it is even able to control the effects. This is simply unimaginable. Little His Honor is much more talented than subordinate in terms of poison refinement. Qing Su couldn't help but praise Ali. Ali's poison has simply refreshed my view of poison. It's not that I didn't think about it in the past, but I never succeeded, but today. I actually saw it with my own eyes. How could I not be shocked when I see it with my own eyes? It was rare for Yihua to hear Qing Su praising someone, and he felt very proud in his heart. I didn't expect that Ali would have such a high achievement in terms of poison refinement. In actuality, the reason why Donghuang Li was able to have such an achievement was related to the strange flames that she inherited from Donghuang Li. In fact, if she were to fuse two different kinds of strange flames together to concoct a poison, the effect would be even better. That was the reason why a poison with two different properties would appear. Right now, Donghuang Li was even preparing to fuse three different kinds of strange flames together. Just that, she was a bit afraid. Qing Su didn't succeed because he didn't have the drug to fuse two kinds of supernatural abilities. Otherwise, he could also make a poison with two different properties. Although it didn't sound very useful because he could just throw out two kinds of poisons, the effect would be different in actual combat. The main thing was that it could create an effect that was impossible to guard against. Victory was just that difficult. What kind of poison is this? Yihua asked curiously. It should be a corrosive poison. However, to be able to corrode broken space, this kind of material is extremely hard to find. Little Sovereign sure is generous. Qing Su sighed. This is a bit of a spendthrift. However, what Qing Su didn't know was that Donghuang Li was able to touch pulse break sex medicinal herbs whenever she wanted. Furthermore, there was even a special group of people who were gathering medicinal herbs for Donghuang Li. Of course, Donghuang Li had also concocted quite a lot of healing medicine for Meridian Break sect. Hearing that it was a corrosive poison, Qingya couldn't remain calm anymore. What if gets disfigured? This is too reckless. I have to stop this competition. Yihua could feel that Qingya was going berserk. It seems like Qingya wants to struggle free from my restraints. This kind of situation is understandable. However, children have their own sense of propriety, so you shouldn't interfere. I, the Supreme Overlord, really want to see how is going to deal with Ali's two types of poisons. However, this child, Ali, seems to be cheating. After all, in order to concoct such a poison, Ali used a strange flame. Therefore, Ali is suspected of cheating. Chapter 1306. This is amazing. I have long heard that Meridian Break Sex Donghuang Li has very high attainments in concocting medicine, and from what I have seen today, her reputation is indeed well deserved. Yi Yan from Deity Academy seems to be in a disadvantageous position. This is truly an eye-opener for me. The martial arts competition this time around is truly going to be very interesting. Right now, let's see how Yi Yan from Deity Academy is going to get out of his predicament. The host's voice was still as sonorous as before, but he was so excited that he lost his voice. At this moment, Yi Yan seemed to have calmed down. In fact, he had already expected this to happen. However, he had not expected that even Duan Kong would not be able to defend against this poison mist. How shocking. However, Dong Wangli had also thought about it well. She had intentionally targeted Duan Kong, and thus, she was able to grasp all of the rhythm of the battle. "You're still too young," Dong Wangli said faintly towards Yi Yan. The meaning behind her words was very clear. In the future, you should just follow your big sister, and don't even think about asking your big sister to follow you. Hee hee. Yi Yan's voice resounded throughout the entire venue. Just how confident is this low laughter of his? Dong Wangli went into a daze. What are you laughing at? Is there any other meaning to smiling? Or perhaps Shin Shu 101 Sierra Leonean Leones, Range Hood. Yi Yan slowly shouted out. With this shout, everyone present was incomparably shocked. It was chapter 101 again. Was this also self-created? But this name, why is it so weird? Above the heads of the two people, a huge black hole could be seen. The inside of the hole was pitch black, and with just a look, one could tell that it wasn't anything good. A suction force was immediately emitted, and the green poisonous smoke was directly sucked up. Dong Wangli looked at the kitchen range blankly. I finally understand why this fellow called this thing as a kitchen range hood. Is truly amusing. Yi Hua was amused by his son's actions. Not bad, this son of his has some brains. Qingye immediately breathed out a sigh of relief. Dong Wang Baiji was the same as well. When she saw the children fighting, she was trembling with fear and was afraid that something might happen to the children. Oh my God. Another 101 chapters. Previously, Deity Institution's Lin Cheng also developed 101 chapters. I never thought that Yi Yan would also develop his own, and from the looks of it, it's even better than Lin Cheng's. It doesn't even need to be sung. It's just too strong. Yen is really not bad. Qing Yutong said with a slight smile. This little nephew of mine has indeed grown up, and girls like him. Not bad indeed. Yi Hua nodded his head, affirming Yi Yan's performance. Just that, this name isn't domineering, it's just that it's very appropriate. Dong Wangli pursed her lips. This brat actually also knows how to target me. Yi Yan patted the robe on his body and his lips curled into a smile. It's self-developed. Not bad, right? I know you like to play with poison, so I specially made it for you. As long as the competition doesn't end, this cooker will always be on and all the poison you release will be sucked away. Dong Wangli let out a breath, then said faintly, this move of yours is indeed not bad. It made me exclaim in admiration. Now is not the time to be amazed. You have to fight properly. Bring out your broken sword style. Yi Yan shouted in a low voice, and a golden halo gradually condensed on his body. It seemed like he was the same as Yi Lu, opening Breaking Dawn and increasing all his attributes. If you use broken sword style, it won't be fun anymore. Dong Wangli said lightly. Hearing his sister's words, Yi Yan's face darkened. Underestimating the enemy is not a good move. This isn't underestimating the enemy, this is a type of confidence. Dong Wangli said faintly. Yi Yan immediately condensed a broken flame spear with both of his hands, and the berserk aura that Yi Yan emitted was truly amazing. If that's the case, I will crush your confidence. Yi Yan shouted out angrily, and his eyes were filled with crazed fighting intent. Dong Wangli could sense the change in her brother. This brat, he has become fond of fighting. Since that's the case, big sister will have to properly teach him a lesson. Although there is nothing wrong with boys fighting, one shouldn't get too infatuated with it. Dong Wangli could be seen taking out a glass bottle. This caused everyone to go into a daze for a moment. They felt that there wasn't anything good inside the glass bottle. However, Yi Yan was still very vigilant. He didn't directly attack the glass bottle, instead, he chose to defend himself. Come out, Great Emperor Venomous Moth. Dong Huangli crushed the glass bottle, and a firefly-like thing flew out. Everyone's gaze landed on the firefly-like thing. What is this thing? Just from the name, it seems to be very powerful, but this size. I don't dare to compliment it. Even Yi Yan went into a daze for a moment, then scolded himself inwardly. I'm being too careful. After all, she's my big sister, I have no choice but to be a bit careful. This is great Emperor Venomous Moth. You're really like an ant. Yi Yan could not help but tease his sister. You think that it's too small? Fine, I'll fulfill your wish. Dong Huangli said with a slight smile. In the blink of an eye. Just a moment ago, it was just a puny poison moth emperor. But now, it had turned into a colossus. In front of it, humans were just like ants. When the purple wings spread out, they were 10,000 feet long. There were all sorts of glowing patterns on the wings, and they didn't give people a good feeling. There was only one eye on its huge head, and it didn't have a pupil. This kind of creature made people feel uncomfortable all over. Its body was like a long chrysalis. The only difference was that it had many legs. Those with trypophobia should never look at it. It would be disgusting. Huh! The venomous moth emperor let out a shrill cry that sent chills down one's spine. Right now, Ching Su was so excited that he stood up and said with horror, This is a rarely seen poison. Where exactly did little sovereign find such a species? All of the subordinates couldn't help but sigh. The four overlords have all grown up. They are no longer as cute as before. Dong Huang Baiji was stupefied. It's fine for a girl to raise a ragdoll, but my daughter is actually raising such a huge poisonous creature. My heart can't take it anymore. Mom is going to have a heart attack because of you. Qinya began to worry about my son again. If my son gets swallowed by that thing. Qinya doesn't even dare to imagine that scene. You actually cheated again. Yi Yan's head was about to explode. What happened to the one-on-one duel? Not only did you use poison, you even found a helper now. Big sister, why are you still the same as when we were young, catching me off guard? You're making your little brother feel very uncomfortable. Dong Huangli laughed. What you said is wrong. How can this be called cheating? This is just a poisonous creature that doesn't have any attack power. Like I would believe you. It's so big, and you're telling me that it doesn't have any attack power? It's true that the venomous moth emperor doesn't have any attack power, but... Before Dong Huangli could finish speaking, the venomous moth emperor opened its mouth. Countless shadows could be seen flying out from its mouth. Taking a look, all of the shadows were small poisonous moths. Yi Yan's expression sunk. He immediately threw out the flame-breaking spear in his hand, and a terrifying pressure immediately rushed towards the venomous moth emperor. However, Chapter 1307. The flame-breaking spear was immediately wrapped up by countless black shadows, and the dazzling light immediately disappeared. It seemed like the flame-breaking spear was devoured by those poisonous moths. Such a result shocked everyone. Everyone knew how powerful the flame-breaking spear was, but these little insects were actually able to devour the flame-breaking spear that was created. How could everyone not be shocked? Right now, Lin Sheng, who was wrapped up like a mummy, once again appeared at God Academy's side. When he saw that Yi Yan was being suppressed by the moths, he wanted to clap his hands and give this arrogant brat a good beating. I want to teach him a lesson and let him know that there is always someone better out there. Tens of thousands of poisonous moths rushed towards Yi Yan. This was something that Yi Yan did not expect, but Dong Huangli did. All the steps were within Dong Huangli's control. This kind of thinking was frightening. In actuality, the biggest change was Dong Huangli. She was so cute when she was young, she was simply lovable, she knew how to act cute and act cute. But now, she is simply, Yi Hua, who was watching the battle, was very satisfied. Yi Yan's performance was indeed not bad, but Ali's performance was even more outstanding. From the start until now, Ali had been suppressing Yan, not giving Yan, any chance to take a breather. I didn't expect that Ali would have such a mind after growing up. In the future, I will be able to relax and let Ali take care of things. Still has a lot of things to learn. When I go back, I will let him learn more from Big Sister. As for God Yi and Yi Lu, their main path of development is still to improve their own strength, which is also what they like. The battle was just like playing landlord, every card had its own purpose, and Dong Huang Li's performance seemed to be more proficient than Yi Yan. Meanwhile, Yi Yan was being led around by Dong Huang Li. From the overall situation, Dong Huang Li was winning. Yi Yan looked at the insects in front of him, then suddenly stretched out his right hand. This action startled everyone. Even Dong Huang Li was a bit surprised. Could it be that, snap? Snap of fingers. This was Yi family's traditional way of showing off, and it would never get tired of it. Divine Book 102, Exterminate. Along with Yi Yan's snap of fingers, the tens of thousands of poisonous moths instantly turned into dust, and even Great Poisonous Moth Emperor let out a sound, seemingly a bit injured. He is actually fine. Yi Yan said gravely. Of course. Just a moment ago, Dong Huang Li protected Great Emperor Venomous Moth. This brat. You actually want to kill my pet, I have to teach you a good lesson. Yi Yan seemed to be able to feel his big sister's anger, but there is nothing he can do about it. There are so many of them, and all of their energy attacks were devoured by you. Just now, I threw out the flute. I'll let you continue acting cool. If he had a flute in his hand, he would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. The Moth Emperor, who had suffered a minor injury, seemed to be enraged. It opened its mouth again. Yi Yan was shocked. Could it be that it could spit out endless bubbles? You must be lying. He was right. The venomous Moth Emperor spat out countless moths. No matter how many you come, I just need to snap my fingers. Yi Yan said solemnly. He didn't feel good about it. Dong Huang Li said gravely, finger snap. You just fought one, and your breathing is already unstable. If you fight a few more, I'm afraid you'll run out of breath. On the other hand, my venomous Moth Emperor can spit out limitlessly. You will die of exhaustion. How despicable. Yi Yan really wanted to complain to mom and dad. Big sister is simply a scoundrel. Who in the world fights like this? Only the weak would call others despicable. Dong Huang Li said faintly. It has been so many years, why hasn't little brother comprehended this logic yet? There is nothing wrong with what his daughter said. The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. This is a dead logic, dead people can only complain. Hee hee. Yi Yan laughed lowly. Seeing that her little brother revealed out such a smile, Dong Huang Li knew that her little brother is going to use his ultimate move. Using the venomous Moth Emperor to force out her little brother's ultimate move is rather worth it. It can be counted as part of my plan. If Yi Yan had a trump card in his hands, Yi Yan would have used it right now. Right now, the air seemed to be trembling. An unparalleled aura was being emitted out from Yi Yan's body. This aura had clearly reached the Dozun realm. Cheating? This thought emerged in Dong Huang Li's mind. It must be that her little brother is cheating, however, very quickly, she dispelled that thought. This isn't cheating, this isn't him using martial techniques to increase his strength. However, it seems like both of them are cheating. This child isn't Ali's opponent. Yi Hua said faintly. He had already determined that Ali was the winner of this battle. Brother-in-law, the battle hasn't even ended yet, how can you come to such a conclusion? Qin Yutong felt that her nephew still had a chance. Isn't it too early to say that? Yi Hua lit up another stick of cigarette. Ali hasn't even gotten serious yet, and he has already used poison to force out Er's trump card. Now that the trump card is gone, what is the point of this battle? All of Yi Hua's subordinates nodded their heads. The person who takes the initiative to use his ultimate move would usually lose. This was an unchanging law, the law of trump cards. Although Qinya was worried, when she heard Yi Hua saying that her son was going to lose, she immediately became unconvinced. Yen, you can do it. You can promise your big sister. The Empress suddenly became happy. For Ali to be able to receive such a high evaluation from Yi Hua, as a mother, I feel very honored. Just what am I thinking? How am I honored? I'm going to be angered to death. Yi Yan, who used his ultimate move, shocked everyone once again, especially the host. My God. My God. Could this be the legendary move? Using Breaking Dawn as the foundation and leveling up Moonslashing Sword? Today has really made me too excited. Seeing the various martial techniques of Broken Meridian Sect and Shin Academy, and being used by such a young person, I can only say that they are too strong. At this moment, Lin Sheng looked at Yi Yan, and his expression wasn't very good. Seeing Yi Yan using Breaking Dawn, Lin Sheng had already suffered a huge blow. However, right now, it was still Moonslashing Sword that was above Breaking Dawn. Comparing it like this, I am really not Yi Yan's opponent. Yi Yan using that kind of method to defeat me is already giving me face. This is the difference, not just a little bit, but a huge gap. When God Yi, who was watching the battle, saw Yi Yan's move, the corner of his mouth twitched. When Lu was fighting with me, she didn't use this move at all. If I say that Lu didn't learn it, God Yi will never believe it. Could it be that Lu is also throwing the match for me? Making me feel bad even after winning? Tricks. This is definitely a trick that Big Brother taught Lu. Lu knows that she isn't Yi Yan's opponent, yet she still holds back and admits defeat, giving others a feeling of not feeling good after winning. My God. Lu has been led astray by Big Brother. At this moment, Yi Lu revealed a sly smile. Big Brother, you are stronger than Lu. Chapter 1308. But even if I lose, I'll let Big Brother know that I haven't used my full strength yet. Maybe I can still win. Are you feeling anxious in your heart? Big Brother Yen is still the smartest. This trick is indeed a bit deep, but from the looks of it now, Big Brother's situation isn't very optimistic. Big Sister hadn't even used her full strength, but Big Brother had already taken out his trump card. She was a little worried. After all, Big Brother was planning to get first place so that he could take credit in front of Mom and Dad. Boom! A wave of air immediately exploded, and the white wind around Yi Yan quickly dissipated. Yi Yan's body was finally revealed before everyone's eyes. At this moment, Yi Yan had completely changed his clothes. Yi Yan was wearing a set of pure white gown, and the gown was incomparably straight. Coupled with Yi Yan's appearance, Yi Yan was simply too handsome. Even Dong Huangli couldn't help but take a few more glances at Yi Yan. This fellow is truly handsome enough. This act of acting is pretty good. A white longsword appeared in Yi Yan's right hand, emitting a cold chill. Hiding in the wind and changing clothes, this isn't a bad idea. Dong Huangli said lightly, and there was even a smile on her face. Originally, the atmosphere was very serious, but after hearing what Dong Huangli said, quite a few people covered their mouths and laughed lightly. The other party was obviously transforming, and yet, you actually said that you were hiding in the wind and changing your clothes? This is truly unacceptable. Yi Hua was amused by his daughter. Little Ali is truly not bad. Don't be so cheeky. Can you be more serious? Yi Yan couldn't help but say, Sister, you are too careless. I, your brother, am also a decent person. How could I change my clothes in front of so many people? Looking at Yi Yan's current state, Dong Huangli actually recalled Great Emperor Venomous Moth back into her storage ring. Are you serious? Yi Yan asked indifferently. No, you are thinking too much. Dong Huangli said lightly. Looking at Big Sister's expression, Yi Yan was a bit angry. Big Sister is actually not serious. Could it be that she thinks that I am still too weak? Then I'll let you take a good look. Yi Yan instantly disappeared from where he was. His speed was several times faster than before, and it was impossible to catch him. Sister. Be careful. Yi Yan suddenly appeared above Dong Huangli's forehead, and the long sword in his hand pierced straight towards Dong Huangli's forehead. This caused Dong Huang Baiji to close her eyes. She was completely unable to watch on anymore. Qinya wished that she could grab hold of her son and smack his butt. He is too reckless. Even Yihua was a bit worried. This brat, does he want to get beaten up by me? The one who should be careful is you, Yen. Yi Yan's expression changed greatly, because that voice actually sounded out from behind him, and the big sister in front of him was actually an afterimage that was left behind because her speed was too fast. How is this possible? I had used beheading moon. Under this kind of state, if big sister didn't use her true ability, she would definitely not be able to keep up with my speed, and then I would be able to defeat big sister. But why? Big sister's speed is actually so fast. Why? Could it be that my sister is cheating again? I used my true strength, shameless. I promised that I wouldn't use it. Feeling the back of his head being flicked by his sister, Yi Yan hurriedly distanced himself from her, gnashing his teeth in anger. You! What kind of trick did you use this time? Yi Yan couldn't help but ask. He must have used something. Otherwise, it would be cheating. Dong Wangli took out a bottle, opened the cap of the bottle, then took out a pill and popped it into her mouth. Dong Wangli's expression was still that comfortable. You! Drink pills. Yi Yan was dumbfounded. How could it be played like this? This was simply infuriating. That's right, I concoct medicine, why can't I drink pills? The way you put it is so strange. Dong Wangli kept the bottle, then took out another bottle and started drinking pills again. Yi Yan looked at his big sister drinking pills, and he didn't really want to fight anymore. This is simply the way a hooligan fights, I can't afford to offend her. What kind of medicine are you drinking again? How can you be like this? Yi Yan shouted out towards Dong Wangli. Why didn't I notice that big sister is such a hooligan in the past? The speed at which Dong Wangli was drinking pills was simply infuriating. It was as if she was eating candy, and she was even chewing the pill in her mouth. It was exactly the same as eating bubble gum. Looking at this scene, Yi Yan felt his scalp turning cold. You are almost done. Yi Yan couldn't help but say once again. I don't want to fight anymore. I sincerely hope that my opponent is God Yi. Big sister is truly not someone that I can afford to offend. Dong Wangli's mouth was extremely swollen, seemingly like she was still chewing the pill. Everyone was confused. What is she doing? This doesn't seem to be as simple as drinking pills. Right now, Qing Su was also very confused. What is Little Honor doing? To be able to drink pills to this extent, I have never heard of such a thing happening before. Dong Wangli could be seen suddenly taking a deep breath, and a bubble actually came out from her mouth. Furthermore, the bubble was a multicolored kind of bubble. When Yi Yan saw the bubble, he subconsciously tightened his grip on the sword that he was holding onto, appearing to be very vigilant. This is definitely not something that my big sister is playing around with. The bubble was still continuously becoming bigger and bigger. Suddenly, the bubble came out from Dong Wangli's mouth and floated in the air in a very strange manner. What surprised everyone was that Dong Wangli actually grabbed onto the bubble that Dong Wangli spat out and started rubbing the bubble with her hand. Everyone was confused. Just what is she doing? Gradually, the bubble that was on Dong Wangli's hand took the shape of a human. This caused everyone to reveal out an astonished gaze. Could this be? The human-shaped bubble is becoming more and more similar to a person. Right now, Yi Yan was very restless. Could it be that big sister is? I'm so tired, but I finally managed to do it. Dong Wangli let out a heavy breath, then lightly tapped onto the human-shaped bubble's forehead. The human-shaped bubble took on a new look, and it actually turned into a person that looked exactly the same as Dong Wangli. It even knows how to smile. Yi Yan felt that this big sister bubble still has her own thoughts. At this moment, Qing Su stood up once again, then said spiritedly, could this be the legendary overlord-level human-shaped doll? This is simply too ferocious. Just how did Little Honorable manage to do it? Even I am unable to do it. Human-shaped doll? Yihua asked curiously. Yihua's subordinates were also very curious. During these few years, they seemed to have heard Ching Su talk about it, but they didn't know much about it. Something that Ching Su was unable to do, Little Honorable actually managed to do it. Looking at Ching Su's astonished look, Little Honorable is definitely extraordinary. Your Honor, I believe that you have also seen it just now. Little Honorable swallowed a lot of medicinal pellets and chewed them in his mouth. The medicinal pellet's saliva is the foundation of Little Honorable's humanoid form. When all sorts of medicinal pellets are combined together, this human-shaped doll possesses all of the characteristics of medicinal pellets. This human-shaped doll can be said to be the most ferocious doll in the world. The main point is these medicinal pellets. I wonder where Little Honorable managed to find these medicinal pellets from. I really wish to exchange some insights with Little Honorable. Ching Su was already unable to hold back the excitement in his heart. Looking at Dong Huangli, Ching Su seemed as if he was looking at a mountain of gold. Yi Hua looked at his daughter and sighed in his heart. My daughter has been doing much better than what I imagined. Chapter 1309. Everyone, Broken Meridian Sex. Dong Huangli actually created a person with her hands. This is too mystical. I don't know what use this person has, but from the looks of it, it seems to be very formidable. Also, I wonder what kind of performance Yi Yan will have. I am really looking forward to it. Yi Yan scolded in his heart. Formidable my ass, watch me. If I, Yi Yan, don't show off my might, do you all think that I, Yi Yan, am a Hello Kitty? Flowing light 10 chain slash. Yi Yan doesn't believe that a mere doll can be stronger than me, Yi Yan. If that is the case, what am I, Yi Yan, going to follow you, big sister? 10 rays of white light immediately blossomed, and the bubble version of Big Sister was immediately hit. 10 white marks appeared on her body, and it was clear that she was hit. Chi! The doll could be seen immediately splitting into several pieces, as if it was disintegrating. This caused everyone to be a bit surprised. The bubble version that I created for so long was actually insta-killed just like that. This is too disappointing. After succeeding in his attack, Yi Yan was a bit excited as he shouted out towards his big sister, what is this thing? It seems like it is only a so-so. It was insta-killed. Are you sure? Dong Huangli said indifferently. Yi Yan's expression became grave. Big sister's words, just when everyone thought that the doll was going to be destroyed, the doll that was disintegrating actually fused together once again, and furthermore, the doll even laughed. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Are you excited? The corner of Yi Yan's mouth twitched. This is a bit demonic. Super speed fusion regeneration. Ching Su cried out in surprise again. Yi Hua said faintly, Ching Su, don't make a fuss about nothing. Your Honor, subordinate is truly unable to calm down from the excitement in my heart. Your Honor is simply too formidable. I have to go and pay respects to Your Honor as my teacher. Ching Su wasn't joking. The things that Dong Huangli used in such a short period of time had already caused Ching Su to be extremely shocked, and I really want to ask Dong Huangli to enlighten me. Hearing what Ching Su said, Dong Huangbaiji felt very happy. Dong Huangli did not disappoint me, she truly gave me face. Ching Ye suddenly hoped that my son would be able to win. Seems like women have a competitive heart as well, they are all the same. At this moment, Yi Yan couldn't take it anymore and shouted out, why are you using such a gaudy thing, White Emperor sword? The long sword in Yi Yan's hands suddenly disappeared, turning into a cloud-like substance, floating around Yi Yan's body. Dong Huangli looked towards the puppet and said in a low voice, just play around with him, it's fine as long as you don't get hurt. Such a handsome little brother, of course I won't hurt him. The puppet gave a strange smile. Even though it looked like a real person, when it smiled, it gave off a horrifying feeling. After all, it was not a real person. Dong Huangli laughed lightly, then took a few steps back. Meanwhile, the puppet was actually walking forward while walking like a cat. Is Dong Huangli's appearance that bad? Not bad. She is simply so beautiful that she could explode. Furthermore, when she walks out with such sexy steps, my eyes are about to pop out from looking at her. I don't believe it. Yi Yan shouted in a low voice. Insignificant tricks can't cripple you. The white mist around Yi Yan seemed to have a life of its own as it surged towards the puppet. In an instant, it wrapped around the puppet and began to spin violently. Yi Yan sneaked a peek at his sister and realized that she was expressionless. She must be pretending. She must be panicking. This move isn't bad, Dong Huangli said lightly. Of course, the White Emperor's sword can transform into hundreds of millions of blades, attacking in all directions, not leaving any gaps. Yi Yan said in a low voice. This move could be considered the top martial technique of Shen Academy. When God Yi saw his brother using that move, he thought to himself that his sister definitely knew how to use it as well. She did not even use it when fighting him. Was it him or his sister who was going easy on him? God Yi was starting to have doubts. Dong Huangli laughed, that's why I used a puppet. When Yi Yan heard this, he immediately felt that something was wrong. It was as if every step he took was being controlled by his sister. Under Yi Yan's control, the White Emperor's sword returned to his side and continued to float. However, the puppet had already disappeared. In Yi Yan's words, it had already turned into dust. Not even a speck of flesh remained. Seeing such a situation, Yi Yan smiled and said, nothing more than this. What other moves do you have? Bring them out. That's all? I'm afraid you're getting carried away. Yi Yan suddenly realized that something seemed to be condensing in the air, and his eyes instantly became astonished. This thing had already become like this. Could it still be fused? This is already so perverted that it no longer has any friends. In the blink of an eye, the puppet was formed once again. Everyone was incomparably shocked in their hearts. Could it be that this thing can't be killed? It can revive infinitely? Little big brother, this move of yours is making me feel so comfortable. The puppet twisted its neck, then swayed left and right. Yi Yan didn't even want to speak anymore. If you have the ability, let me take out my flute and blow you to death. This time, it's my turn to attack. Little big brother, you have to be a bit more serious. The puppet laughed lightly. Yi Yan looked at this monster vigilantly. Since this thing can even be healed by dust, it seems like I can only use other methods. The puppet could be seen taking a deep breath. Chapter 13:10. Dong Huangli continued, your White Emperor's sword will not be able to cause any harm to it. If these 7 little fellows self-destruct beside you, you will definitely be injured, and the gas that comes out from the explosion will even make you fall asleep. This is just one of the 7 little fellows' functions, the other 6 have different functions. When all of them self-destruct, the fused poisonous gas will have a different effect. Later on, you will personally experience what despair is. Dong Huangli's words were all according to what Yi Hua said. After all, what he heard the most when he was young was, let the enemy experience what despair is. Right now, Dong Huangli was just responding to her father's call, causing her little brother to feel despair. Yi Yan looked at the 7 big sisters who were holding hands and looking at him with those strange gazes, and he didn't feel good. Big sister, you changed, you became too ferocious. At the very least, we relied on each other when we were young, we ate from the same bowl, and we even slept together. You even hugged Yen, and sang songs to coax me to sleep. Do you still remember the days when we went to KFC to beg? Big sister, you were in charge of doing the dishes, and little brother was in charge of crying. Big sister, did you forget the days when we stole chickens in Voidless Realm? Big sister, did you forget the days when we destroyed everything, and now, to actually use such a ferocious method to deal with little brother, big sister, does your conscience not hurt? Back then, you even said that you will properly protect your little brother for the rest of your life. Look at me now, I can't even trust a woman's words, even if it's a child who is only a few years old, liar. Yi Yan suddenly stretched out his palm and shouted out, wait. Dong Huangli went into a daze for a moment, then gave the puppet a look. This puppet really does have its own thoughts, causing my 7 little brothers to stop moving. What are you doing? You still have a big move? Dong Huangli asked curiously. In actuality, she was a bit nervous. This humanoid doll is already my trump card, and it is also my most powerful move. If even this move is broken, then I don't have anything else that I can use. Therefore, I naturally don't want my little brother to have any more trump cards. Although Yi Yan was thinking this way, Dong Wanli still had that look of, what trump card do I have, on me, causing Yi Yan to feel uncertain. I still have a few moves that I created myself, but if big sister still has any perverted moves, wouldn't I be slapped in the face? This cheating big sister, I am going to tell mom and dad, you are bullying little brother. Originally, I wanted to get first place and go to show off a bit. This is simply too infuriating. If only I didn't act cool just now and just left the show with me. What should I do now? I have to brace myself and finish acting, but, forget it, I'll look for an opportunity in the future. I have to properly study how to get rid of my sister's poison. When that time comes, it'll be time for her revenge. But when I think about my sister's mystical flames, my head hurts a little. Why can't I inherit it perfectly? How did my sister manage to fuse two mystical flames? She is indeed a perverted level of a sister. Yi 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 Li, Yi Yi Emperor Di Shao and said. And Yi Yi Emperor, to Yi, my stomach feel. Yi Chin Yi Yi to. Yi Hua, everyone, to say to. Yi Yi Yi. Yi. Everyone. Yi. He. Yi. Yi. Yi Yi, seeing that his son was beaten away by his daughter, Yi Hua smiled helplessly. He didn't blame Yi Yan. After all, Ali's strength was indeed very strong, and she wasn't someone that Yi Yan could contend against. Emperor also felt. Yi Li, Imam, Yi. Yi all of Yi Ye's subordinates revealed a smile. Our little honor is still the same as when we were young, very cute. At this moment, Yi Yan came to his little sister's side. Yi Lu sighed lightly and patted on her big brother's shoulder. Brother, why did you admit defeat? Don't you still have a lot of ultimate moves? Yi Yan sighed helplessly. Mom and Dad are here. Ah! Yi Lu cried out in surprise. She immediately felt her face heating up. Does that mean that Mom and Dad saw the fight between me and Big Brother just now? If I had known earlier, I would have won even if I had to risk my life. Yi Yan also discovered his father during the fight, because his father was currently smoking. Yi Yan did not know that his father smoked a lot, and in this world, only his father who smoked would be able to draw out a unique aura from his father's cigarette. After being shocked, Yi Lu became even more confused. Brother, since Mom and Dad are watching us, why did you admit defeat? Yi Lu asked. Yi Yan stroked his little sister's hair and said faintly, I thought about it. No matter what, you are big sister, there is no need to do that. Oh, brother. Yi Lu called out lightly. Other people only saw the side of Big Brother that was laughing and joking, but only I saw how hard my big brother worked when he was training. Yi Yan smiled bitterly. It's just that I disappointed Mom. Both of us admitted defeat. That's right, if I had known earlier, it would have been a bit more serious. Yi Yan didn't say anything. He looked at his big sister who was in the sky and revealed a smile. When Dong Wanli who was in the sky saw her little brother's smile, she glared at him. This brat, to actually go easy on me, be careful that big sister doesn't spank you like how I used to spank you when you were young. The host came back to his senses from his shock and said excitedly, Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The two trump cards of Shin Academy actually admitted defeat. Is this a shady deal, or is Shin Academy really unable to hold on any longer? Next, it actually turned into a civil war within Meridian Break sect. This is so boring. Everyone immediately became speechless. This host is a bit interesting, to even be able to say such a thing. Aren't you afraid of offending Shin Academy? However, there is a possibility of shady deal. With Shin Academy's trump cards, it shouldn't be to the point where they would admit defeat, right? Furthermore, everyone else was fighting to the death, but look at them, there aren't any injuries on their bodies. Although they were throwing ultimate moves at each other, there weren't any actual injuries on their bodies. Dong Huangli returned to God Ye's side, then smiled towards God Yi. Big sister, congratulations. God Yi congratulated his big sister in advance. This time, the first place was already in his hands. After all, by defeating Yi Yan, he would be the first place, because the biggest threat was Yi Yan. Big sister, congratulations. Lu Xian, who was beside God Yi, also called out softly. Seems like she has already admitted her identity, this is a good thing. Hearing that Lu Xian had changed her words, God Yi revealed a smile, then lightly held on to Lu Xian, her small hand. Seeing how her little brother and Lu Xian were acting, Dong Huangli felt very happy in her heart. After all, with her little brother's personality, it is truly difficult for him to find a girlfriend. If not for this mysterious mission, how could her little brother possibly find a girlfriend? Dong Huangli said softly, "What's there to congratulate? Yi Yan went easy on me." "It can't be." God Yi said doubtfully. Lu Xian, who was beside Yi Yan, was a bit surprised. "Yi Yan went easy on me? Just now, it seems like there was no other way." Chapter 13:11. It could only be said that Yi Yan's acting skills had improved a lot. After all, in the Yi family, it would be hard to survive without some acting skills. This fellow has become a lot more shrewd. Dong Huangli said with a light smile on her face. Her little brother has become so powerful, and Dong Huangli was naturally happy for her little brother. God Yi did not say anything after listening. "That's right, I forgot to tell you, Daddy and Mommy are here, and they are currently looking at us," Dong Huangli reminded. This caused God Yi to go into a daze, and God Yi couldn't help but exclaim out loudly, "What? Daddy and Mommy are here?" Looking at her younger brother who had lost control of himself, Dong Huangli said snappily, "Don't see how your mom will teach you a lesson when you are dressed like this, and yet, you are still showing off your muscles over there." God Ye's cold face instantly turned red. If he knew that his parents would come today, he would not have dressed like that and posed like that. "It's all because of you. Xian likes muscular men." It was rare for God Yi to show an innocent expression. "When did I ever like muscular men? Don't spout nonsense." Lu Xian was also extremely nervous at that moment. God Ye's parents were watching. That just now was so embarrassing. "Sis, why didn't you say so earlier? You must have felt it a long time ago, right?" God Yi knew that he had been tricked by his sister again. Dong Huangli spread out her hands. "I also just found out about it." "Yen, that fellow seems to have found out about it as well. Why are Mom and Dad here?" God Yi held his forehead. It was too sudden and he could not accept it. His dad would definitely scold him. Dong Huangli laughed coquettishly. "Mommy definitely dragged Daddy to come here, that's why Daddy came here. This is just nice, let Xian gradually get to know Daddy and Mommy. After you pass Daddy and Mommy's test, Xian, you will be a member of Yi family." After hearing what Dong Huangli said, Lu Xian wished that she could dig a hole into the ground. "Isn't this too fast? We have just confirmed our relationship, and we are already going to meet our family. Wasn't it supposed to be during the discussion of marriage?" "Xian, don't worry, our family members are all good people," Dong Huangli said earnestly. "Good person? Yi Hua and the entire team doesn't seem to be a good person at all." Right now, Yi Hua released the shackles that were placed on Qingye and Dong Huangbaiji, because the children's match was more or less over. God Yi was no match for Ali. Ali took first place this time. "Yi Hua!" Qingye and Dong Huangbaiji shouted out towards Yi Hua. Yi Hua pretended that he didn't see anything and continued to smoke his cigarette while saying faintly, "Pay attention to your image." Qingye and Dong Huangbaiji really didn't want to pay attention to their image, and were prepared to have a big fight with Yi Hua. They wanted to let Yi Hua know that women still have a lot of formidable aspects. However, due to the presence of so many people, including his subordinates and children, he decided to put aside this debt for now and settle it properly in the future. However, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji couldn't wait to see their children anymore. It has already been 12 years. I really want to hug my children tightly into my embrace and tell them how much Mummy misses them, but your bad daddy doesn't allow Mummy to come and see them. I don't even allow Mummy to come and see them, Your Honor. Wei Cheng shouted out lightly from behind Yi Hua. Wei Cheng asked with a low voice. Deity institution's Taihe has already died, but meridian-breaking sex Chang Hen did not die. Yi Hua naturally knew that this was also one of the children's missions. It was also to train the children to be cold-blooded when it was time for them to be cold-blooded. However, right now, Yi Hua was a bit hesitant. According to Absolute Heaven's intelligence, everlasting hatred seemed to dote on Ali and God Yi in every possible way. The reason why Ali had so many strange medicinal herbs was all because of everlasting hatred. Although it was for the sake of nurturing the two children, if he did not dote on them, why would he spend so much on them? Furthermore, the children also knew about their mission. If Yi Hua were to force them to carry out the mission, Yi Hua thought to himself, Ali and God Yi wouldn't disobey my orders. However, after the mission is completed, will they be happy? On the other hand, as a father, I will have one less enemy. Will I be happy? I don't seem to be happy at all. All these years, Yi Hua didn't go and carry out any revenge operations, because he felt that revenge doesn't seem to be able to make him happy. In fact, he even started a discussion about whether or not he should continue with his revenge operations. In the end, the conclusion that he came up with was that he should continue with his revenge operations, but he would listen to the will of the heavens, and he wouldn't doubt whether or not he should continue with his revenge operations. Because, if he were to continue with his revenge operations, it would truly be very boring. Although he would be able to admire those expressions of fear, he felt that it was meaningless. Perhaps, one day, someone else would walk in front of you, and then, you would be out of luck. In actuality, Yi Hua didn't have the mood to carry out any revenge operations, because all these years, there was a knot in his heart, and that was that old fortune teller. Thus, every day, he desperately wanted to increase his own strength, protect his family, and protect the entire team. Everything seemed calm, but Yi Hua felt that this was the calm above the turbulent waves. However, the calm had been overturned, and the waves were coming. If he didn't take advantage of this opportunity to make preparations, then everything would be for naught. Not only was Yi Hua making preparations, the entire team didn't have time to relax and increase their own strength. After all, there was still a ticking time bomb beside them, Ren Yao. Who knows when this time bomb would explode, and no one knew what kind of effect it would spray out. Let's just hope that it turns out to be a dud. Forget it. Yi Hua said faintly. He decided not to make things difficult for the children. The revenge is mine, there is no need to place it on the children. Let's go. Yi Hua said faintly. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji thought that Yi Hua was going to go back, but right now, he hasn't even picked up the children, and you already said that you are going back? How can you not keep your words? Just by looking at their expressions, Yi Hua knew that they were already an old married couple. You two want to meet here? Yi Hua said faintly. So that's the case. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji snorted. At least you are sensible. Seems like these two first wives of mine are very arrogant. Look at Qing Yutong and Shen Yuqing, both of them are very well behaved, unlike Qingye and Donghuang Baiji who are so arrogant. Yi Hua's temper is also much better, if not, he would have long hung them up and beaten them up. Yi Hua brought along everyone and took the lead. Right at this moment, the match between Donghuang Li and God Yi began. God Yi admitted defeat, Donghuang Li became the champion, and everyone booed at her. However, this didn't affect Donghuang Li's mood, because she was about to see her father and mother, and she was about to return home. I really want to return home. After the match ended, the four children disappeared. As for where they went, it was naturally to meet up with each other first. Behind a big rock in Maple Forest Valley, the four little fellows were looking at each other, and all of them had the same expression on their faces. How is this a meeting between brothers? This is simply a meeting between enemies who have been enemies for hundreds of years, and they really want to stab each other with a knife. Suddenly, Donghuang Li opened up her arms. come into big sister's embrace. Gaji shook his head helplessly and waved at Lu Xian, who was not far away. Xian, come here. Let me introduce you. Lu Xian, who was standing at the side, saw that they were really siblings. This was simply unthinkable. Meridian-breaking sex trump card, coupled with Shin Institution's trump card, this was too unbelievable. What kind of people were Gadye's parents? Lu Xian didn't dare to imagine. Lu, this is Lu Xian, She'll be your sister-in-law from now on. Gadye pulled the shy Lu Xian, in front of him and smiled. Greetings, sister-in-law, Yi Lu called out with a smile. A woman that even her brother acknowledged couldn't be any worse. Lu Xian, blushed. Hello, Lu, Sister-in-law, there's no need to be restrained. We're a family from now on. Lu Xian, felt that she had only just started dating Gadye. How did they suddenly become a family? At this moment, Dong Huangli and Yi Yan walked over. Big sister. Yi Lu walked forward, then threw herself into Dong Huangli's embrace and called out intimately. As expected of sisters. Lu, you're truly becoming more and more beautiful. Even big sister likes you. Dong Huangli couldn't help but tease, causing Yi Lu to be unhappy. Only at this place could Yi Lu express herself. Gadye pulled Lu Xian, in front of Yi Yan and called out, Brother, long time no see. This man's way of greeting is really not direct. The main thing is that when they were young, Yi Yan and Gadye didn't interact much. Yi Yan nodded, then looked at Lu Xian, and asked, This is sister-in-law, right? That's right, brother. Xian, greet her. Brother. Lu Xian called out shyly. Yi Yan patted on Gadye's shoulder. All right, you're asking about the first person who found his other half. Daddy and Mommy should be very happy. However, I'm also curious, with your personality, why did you suddenly want to find a girlfriend? Daddy requested it. Gadye subconsciously said. Daddy had such a request. Why didn't I know about it? Big sister, do you know about it? I don't know. Dong Huangli shook her head. At this moment, Gadye was a bit stupefied. I feel like I've been tricked again, so Daddy didn't have such a request at all, and yet I. Big sister, you're really. Do you have to trick your little brother like this? Just like what Dong Huangli said, if little brother isn't used to trick others, then what's the point of having a little brother? What Dong Huangli said made sense. In any case, it was the first time Yi Yan and Yi Lu met Lu Xian, meeting gifts were definitely not lacking. Yi Yan and Yi Lu both gave Lu Xian meeting gifts. Those gifts were all small gifts, and those small gifts were given by Daddy in the past. In the eyes of the children, those were small gifts. However, in Lu Xian's eyes, those were all things that she couldn't see, and yet, they were actually able to casually take them out. Chapter 13:13. Don't be afraid. This is Uncle Wei, Gadye comforted her softly. After all, Lu Xian would feel uncomfortable from the aura emitted by Uncle Wei. Lu Xian forced herself to calm down, but she still stayed close to Gadye. Little honor, please follow subordinate down, his honor and madam are already waiting for you. Wei Chang said with a smile while looking at the children. Presumably, his honor and madam should be very anxious right now, right? Upon hearing that they were going to be able to see their parents soon, the four children were very excited, but also a bit nervous. I haven't seen them for a long time. I wonder if my father and mother have gotten old, and I wonder if my father has found a new wife. His mother would definitely be furious and might even run away from home. Without us to cover for him, my father would have no choice but to ask Uncle Wei and the others to act. Uncle Wei, let's go. Dong Huangli was already impatient. Wei Chang nodded, and everyone immediately disappeared. When the scene appeared again, both Dong Huangli and Yi Yan went into a daze for a moment, because they were currently inside. Leisure bar. To Dong Wangli, that bar counter was too familiar. That bar counter was filled with countless memories. His honor and madam are inside the bedroom. Wei Cheng said with a slight smile. Towards the place that his honor chose to meet with Yi Hua, Wei Cheng sighed with emotion. In actuality, the one who misses little his honor the most is his honor, it's just that his honor didn't show it. Dong Wangli took the lead and rushed upstairs. God Yi also carried Lu Xian, who had a confused look on her face, upstairs. Although I was tricked by my big sister, since I have already found Lu Xian, then let's just let it be. In the future, I won't have to go through the trouble of looking for Lu Xian anymore. After all, Lu Xian, is pretty good. Right now, Dong Wangli was standing at the doorway of the bedroom, and she was feeling very nervous. She was currently thinking about what she should say to Dong Wangli. Sister, what are you waiting for? Let's go in. Yi Yan urged. Wait, let big sister calm down. Dong Wangli said nervously. Aya, it's dad and mom, not someone else. What are you waiting for? Yi Yan pushed the door open. 3 people appeared in the room. The children standing outside the door looked at the 3 figures. They originally wanted to pretend to be relaxed, but now they couldn't do it. Dong Wangli and Yi Lu immediately started crying. After all, they were girls, and it was inevitable for them to be a bit emotional. Yi Yan's and God Ye's eyes reddened. Boys needed some face. How could they be like girls, crying at the drop of a hat? At the very least, they had to hold on a little longer. Meanwhile, the ones inside the house were naturally Yi Hua, Qinya, and Dong Wang Baiji. Looking at the children, Yi Hua's expression was very tense. Yi Hua was most likely holding back his tears. He couldn't let the children see him as a joke, and he also couldn't be like Qinya and Dong Wang Baiji, whose faces were already filled with tears. Mom. Dong Wangli threw herself into Dong Wang Baiji's embrace. Ali, Mom misses you so much. Dong Wang Baiji hugged onto her daughter tightly, and the longing she had for her daughter immediately erupted. Mom. Yi Lu did the same. She ran into Qinya's arms and her tears instantly drenched Qinya's clothes. Lu, my daughter. Qinya rubbed her daughter's forehead as tears streamed down her face. Dong Wangli and Yi Lu's cries could be heard all over the bedroom, and Dong Wangli and Yi Lu's cries were simply howling loudly. Even Yi Hua felt that he was a bit too ruthless. After making the children leave for such a long time, it was only natural for Qinya and Dong Wang Baiji to be this angry. Yi Yan and God Yi, who were boys, were much more steady. They walked to their mother's side, and before they even said a single word, they were hugged by their mother, just like how they were when they were little. The children who were able to feel their mother's love were all very happy. Yi Yan and God Yi both cried, but very quickly, they wiped away their tears. I can't let others see me crying, especially when my father is right beside me. If my father sees me crying, how much face would I have? Yi Hua stood beside the window and lit up a stick of cigarette. It seems like only by doing this can my excited mood calm down. This is indeed very effective. After a long while, Yi Hua finally calmed down. Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette butt and looked at his 4 children. The children also looked at their father, and suddenly discovered that their father seemed to have aged a lot. This kind of aging wasn't referring to his appearance, rather, it was referring to his mentality. The children's feeling was right. After all these years, Yi Hua's mentality had indeed aged a lot. Daddy. The 4 children obediently shouted out, preparing to listen to Yi Hua's lecture. Yi Hua looked at the children, took a deep breath, then said in a low voice, Children, it has been hard on you all. Daddy. The 2 daughters immediately hugged onto their father tightly. Their father was like a mountain that they could rely on. This kind of feeling could only be felt now, outside. The only person that they could rely on was themselves. Yi Hua lightly caressed onto his daughter's hair and sighed with emotion in his heart, You all are good children. Daddy. Yi Hua patted onto Yi Yan and God Ye's shoulders, You all have performed well, Daddy is very happy today. Daddy, our final mission has yet to be completed. Yi Yan was obedient. In front of Yi Hua, Yi Yan would always be obedient and didn't dare to be impudent. Yi Hua naturally knew what Yi Yan was talking about. Although Yi Yan and Yi Yan were serious, Yi Hua could feel that there was still a bit of conflict in their hearts. Yi Hua. Qingya called out lightly. Mom, this is our duty. Yi Yan said in a low voice. Yi Hua patted onto Yi Yan's shoulders. Forget it, don't do that mission anymore. During this period of time, properly accompany your mother. I miss you all a lot. Yi Hua looked at the children's expressions. When he said that he was going to cancel the mission, the children clearly let out a sigh of relief. Yi Hua didn't even know what to say. Should he be happy or disappointed? After living together for so many years, as long as it was a human, there would definitely be some feelings. The children were not like me. I am an undead. My feelings can be extinguished at any time. You all continue chatting. I will go down and drink a cup of wine. Yi Hua said lightly. As a mother, she definitely has a lot of things to say. Daddy, wait, I still have someone to introduce. Gaji said a bit embarrassedly. Yi Hua and his two wives immediately understood what Gaji meant and nodded their heads with a smile. Gaji was delighted. As long as Daddy nodded his head, it would be a success. Xian, Gaji opened the door of the room and shouted towards Lu Xian, who was outside. Lu Xian was very nervous, to the point where she felt that her legs weren't listening to her and couldn't even move. Gaji grabbed onto Lu Xian's wrist and pulled her into the bedroom. Daddy, Mommy, she is called Lu Xian. She is my girlfriend, let me introduce her to you all. Lu Xian lowered her head the moment she entered the room. She didn't dare to raise her head, because she was afraid. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji had already met Lu Xian during the competition. Lu Xian wasn't bad, right? Looking at how she is right now, she should be considered as an obedient girl. Chapter 13-14. Raise your head, Yi Hua said softly. Dong Huang Baiji rolled her eyes at Yi Hua. Don't scare others. Come, let Andy take a look. Lu Xian finally raised her head. She was so nervous that she did not know what to say. You are really good looking. Shen has good taste. Qingya laughed softly, then looked at her son, as if saying, look at your little brother, he has already solved his personal problem. As the big brother, when are you going to solve it? Yi Yan seemed to be able to sense his mother's intention and immediately turned his face away. Can I be like God Yi and confess while wearing a camisole? That kind of scene is really unbearable. Only God Yi would dare to do that. Greet her. God Yi reminded softly. He felt that it was funny. In the past, Lu Xian was quite calm, but now, she actually became like this. It felt quite interesting. Following God Ye's reminder, Lu Xian finally came back to her senses and subconsciously followed God Yi and shouted, Mom. Everyone was speechless. That word, Mom, shocked everyone. Even God Yi looked at Lu Xian dumbfoundedly. She said that she doesn't want to be my woman, but this is the first time they met, and she even called me Mom. I didn't expect that. Xian actually likes me so much. Dong Huang Baiji was stunned for a moment, then smiled happily. You have such a sweet mouth. Shen you are blessed. Lu Xian finally realized that she had said the wrong thing. Her face was about to bleed. She held on to God Ye's hand tightly. Her meaning was very obvious. It's all your fault. Qingya then looked at Yi Yan, as if saying, when are you going to find a girlfriend like this and make Mom happy? Yi Yan initially thought that when God Yi found a girlfriend, his parents would tease him a little. He did not expect that, they would actually point the spearhead at him. Yi Hua took a few steps forward and stood in front of Lu Xian. Lu Xian immediately felt pressured. God Ye's father doesn't feel like an ordinary person. I don't know what God Ye's father is going to say to me. I don't feel like it's easy to get along with him. Take good care of God Yi in the future. Yihua said lightly as he took out a greeting gift. It was a hairpin that was emitting out a faint radiance. However, don't look down on this hairpin. What Yihua took out was definitely not an ordinary thing. Lu Xian'er was too embarrassed to accept it and dared to reject it. Gaji tightened his grip on Lu Xian'er's hand. Since Daddy had given it to her, she should accept it honestly. If she did not accept it, it would mean that she was not giving him face. That was not being polite. Lu Xian'er was still very smart. She instantly understood God Ye's meaning and accepted it with both hands. Thank you, uncle. I understand. Yihua called out to his eldest son. Dad. Yi Yan was confused. Why did his dad call him at this time? It's good to start a family first. Then you can focus on your career in the future. A few black lines instantly appeared on Yi Yan's forehead. On the other hand, Qingye had a joyous look on her face. This fellow Yan'er, perhaps he doesn't listen to this mother, but whatever this father says, he will do. Right now, it's also good for Yi Yan to start a family first. I will also have one less thing to worry about, or it's also good for me to hug a grandson. I know, Daddy. What else can Yi Yan say? It's all this God Ye's fault. If you don't find a girlfriend, would I die together with you? No. If I'm going to die, then let's die together. Daddy, big sister isn't young anymore. I feel that we should. Just when Yi Yan finished speaking, Dong Huangli and Yi Lu cast a gaze of death at Yi Yan. Brat, you are planning to die together with us, right? You don't have to worry about your big sister and your little sister's matters, just focus on your own matters. Yihua said faintly, then continued, if the two of you have a boy that you like, then bring him home and let Daddy and Mommy take a look at him. Dong Huangli and Yi Lu nodded their heads, we definitely will. Dad. Since you have already found a girlfriend, then give birth to a child so that your mom won't get bored every day. God Yi, Lu Xian'er, we just confirmed our relationship today, and to immediately give birth to a child, isn't this a bit too fast? However, Dong Huang Baiji tacitly agreed to Yihua's words. You two have a good chat. After finished speaking, Yihua walked out of the bedroom, appearing a bit abnormal. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji were already used to it. After all, Yihua had always been like this for the past few years. Qingye, how about we ask Yuan Qing for help and let Yan go on a blind date? Dong Huang Baiji immediately thought of Yihua's little sister. No matter what, she is an empress, and she definitely has a lot of resources in her hands. Qingye felt that this suggestion was not bad. Finding a daughter-in-law doesn't necessarily have to be from a rich family. Yi family doesn't lack such people at all. The main thing is that Yan likes the girl, and the girl that likes Yan, that is enough. Mom, I will look for someone myself. Really, how old am I, and I am already going on a blind date? Yi Yan never expected that he would be walking on the path of a blind date when he is not even 18 years old. God Yi said lightly, brother, you have to listen to Mom. Facing God Ye's teasing, Yi Yan immediately rolled his eyes. You already have a girlfriend now, and you are just waiting to give birth to a child. Brother, are you sure that you have to listen to Mom? Yi Lu immediately rebelled. I am very curious about what kind of girl my brother is going to find. Yi Lu feels that I must definitely find a girl that can suppress my brother. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji laughed tenderly, and even Lu Xian revealed out a smile. I feel that the atmosphere isn't that tense anymore. The main reason is because Uncle Yi left with that oppressive atmosphere. Yihua came to the bar counter downstairs. Wei Chang was currently holding onto a broom and was currently cleaning the bar. It has been a long time since I last cleaned the bar, and there is quite a lot of dust in the bar. Come over and have a drink with me. Yihua poured 2 cups of vodka, added a little bit of ice, and said lightly. Wei Chang walked over respectfully. Seeing that his honor's expression wasn't that good, this shouldn't be the case. The children have already returned. Why is his honor still frowning? Your Honor, I am fine, I am just feeling a bit emotional. Yihua lightly took a sip of the vodka. Wei Cheng knew that His Honor felt embarrassed to show off in front of his family, and that's why His Honor ran downstairs to have a drink. Your Honor, what about our next mission? Next, we will just have to wait for them to return. It should be about time for them to return in a few days. At that time, we will have another meeting. After finished speaking, Yihua patted onto Wei Cheng's shoulder and said again, "It is time for us old fellows to retire. This is the world of the youngsters." Your Honor. Yihua took a deep breath and did not say anything. Your Honor, all these years, are you still worried that that fortune teller is related to the guardian? Wei Cheng understood Yihua very well. After all, that fortune teller was the first person who used fantasy to deceive His Honor. Towards this kind of person, His Honor would definitely be very vigilant. Chapter 13-15. Whether it's related or not, to us, it doesn't seem to be a good thing. It is rather troublesome, and we cannot underestimate the strength of those guardians. Wei Cheng nodded his head. He understood the strength of the guardians. For every single one of them to reach the same level as 7 sins, it could be seen how powerful they were. Go and ask Blood Demon to prepare a good meal. Everyone should gather together, the children should also get to know new friends. Yes, Your Honor. If not for Yihua going upstairs to call for people, Qingye and Dongwang Baiji would probably be able to talk for 3 days and 3 nights, and they might not even be able to finish. The children more or less knew about some things. It seems like during these years that I left, a lot of accidents happened. I missed out on a lot of things. I still have my uncle, Daddy actually still has a blood brother that I lost contact with for many years, and Grandma, my God. However, from Mother's expression, this uncle that I haven't met yet, seems to not be doing well, and many of Daddy's subordinates have gone out to train. As for why did they suddenly go out, Mother did not say anything. It's just that the children were curious, feeling as if they had missed out on 100 million. Lu Xian sat at the side and poured tea for them from time to time, looking very virtuous. This made Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's impression of her rise. As a daughter-in-law, she has reached the standard. Very quickly, everyone arrived at Wushu Empire's palace. Right now, everyone was waiting for Lord Little Honor's arrival. Lu Jing was naturally among them, and Gong Yu was also there with her child. Ti, those older and younger brothers of mine are like a mystery. Today, they are back. I wonder if they are easy to get along with. Looking at Mother who was at the side, I feel that Mother is not happy in this palace. Perhaps, she is waiting for Daddy to return. If not, I really want to bring Mother away from this palace, maybe Mother will be a bit happier. Other than the people who went out to train, everyone else was present. A white light flashed past, and a few figures appeared in everyone's field of vision. Lu Jing looked at the 5 youngsters. She was extremely happy, but she was also puzzled. Why is there one more child? Didn't they say that there are only 4 children? To Lu Xian, today was simply like a dream. From here to there, from there to here, and there are so many people. Welcome, Your Honor. Your wife. Little Supreme One. All of the subordinates shouted out respectfully, and their voices were extremely loud and clear. However, right after the subordinates shouted out, the entire Wushu Empire resounded with the same voice. Welcome, Your Honor. Your honorable wife. Little Senior. The entire voidless empire seemed as though it was about to burst into a frenzy. Naturally, it was all thanks to the management of the various subordinates that they were able to achieve such a consensus. Anyway, it was the first time Lu Xianer had seen such a scene. Suddenly, she felt that her face was very hot, as if her blood was burning. Of course, her scalp was also a little numb. This was too shocking. The sky suddenly darkened, and in the blink of an eye, it seemed to be late at night. Baiu, a dazzling firework rushed into the night sky, blossoming into dazzling sparks. It was truly very beautiful. The children hadn't seen it for many years. Now that they saw it, they were overjoyed. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji didn't know that Yihua had such an arrangement. Looking at Yihua's back view, Qingye discovered that during the past few years, this man seemed to have been hiding some things in his heart, and didn't even talk to us and the others. Bayubiubiu, the entire voidless empire rang out with the cheers of the people, as if they were celebrating the new year. The fireworks in the sky illuminated the faces of the people time and time again, bringing with them a sense of joy. No matter how beautiful the fireworks were, there would always be an end. As the sky turned bright, Lu Jing took a step forward with a kind smile. "Children, let Grandma have a look." "Grandma." The children were naturally familiar with each other, and all of them ran over at the same time. After that, all sorts of bootlicking began. However, only Dong Huangli and Yi Lu were rather intimate with each other. As men, Yi Yan and God Yi were not that gentle. "Yo, you are even more handsome than me now, not bad, not bad." At this moment, Lai Gu looked at Yi Yan and teased. In the past, Yi Yan would also play around with Lai Gu and often joke around with him. After all, Lai Gu dared to joke around with his honor, let alone little his honor. "Uncle Lai Gu, it has been many years since we last met, and you are still as handsome as ever." Seems like after growing up, Yi Yan had also become an old driver. Let Uncle Lai Gu take a good look and see if our little his honor has been conquered by that girl or not. Looking at Lai Gu's unbridled gaze, Yi Yan immediately covered his mouth. "What girl?" "Then, what you are doing is wrong, even at your age, his honor." Everyone looked at Lai Gu, and Lai Gu immediately covered his mouth, then looked at the blue sky and said, "I wonder if blood demon rice is ready yet, I am a bit hungry." The wives immediately looked towards Yihua, seemingly asking, "We have been husband and wife for so many years, yet you are still lying to us." Yi Yan looked at his father, seemingly asking, "Is it true? Daddy, are you so awesome? Does mommy know?" Gaji pulled Lu Xian'er over, and when Lu Jing saw that her grandson already has a girlfriend, she smiled even more happily. "Looking at my grandson, he is much more enlightened than my two sons. At such a young age, he is already able to solve his personal problems. In the future, he will be able to focus on his career." Of course, the children still do not know Qian Yuqing, so they still had to introduce her. The children knew that their father definitely has a new wife, but it seems like this is still their father's first love. There is still no problem with their father's eyesight. "This auntie is very beautiful. It has been so many years since they last had a child together, this is quite strange." Right now, the children naturally had to greet Gong Yu. After all, she is the wife of their father's younger brother, and there is even a child beside her. This child should be considered as a younger brother, right? This was also the first time that Gong Yu met the children, and thus, she also prepared a greeting gift. Although the gift was not very expensive, it was still enough to fulfill her intention. "Yi, call big brother and big sister," Gong Yu said tenderly. Yi seemed to be a bit unnatural, but he still shouted out respectfully, "Greetings to big brother and big sister." Yi Yan patted onto Yi's shoulder, "Little brother, in the future, follow big brother, I guarantee that I will bring you flying." Just as Yi Yan finished speaking, he felt a pain at the back of his head. "Big sister, give me some face, there are so many people here." Yi Yan's helpless expression caused everyone to laugh out loud. Seems like his honor's concern for me is still the same as when I was young, and there isn't any estrangement after I grew up. This is truly worthy of celebration. However, this also achieved Yihua's goal. "Alright, let's talk while we eat later," Yihua said lightly. "Today is a good day, I am able to open a few bottles of wine and drink with my subordinates." Dong Huangli suddenly felt that a huge fatty had appeared beside her. From the looks of it, this fatty looks even more meatball than a meatball. Chapter 13-16. Dong Huangli knew that this was father's direct subordinate, Qing Su. But why is he looking for me? Looking at her father's serious expression, Dong Huangli looked towards her father confusedly. Yihua didn't say anything, he knew what Qing Su wanted to do. After all, Qing Su was currently Dong Huangli's fan. This doesn't mean that Dong Huang Li's strength is stronger than Qing Su's. Rather, Dong Huang Li's ideals and the things that Dong Huang Li did made Qing Su feel incomparable admiration. Therefore, please accept me as your disciple. Qing Su yelled with extreme sincerity. This caused everyone in the surroundings to be dumbfounded. They knew that you worshipped him in your heart, but they didn't expect you to worship him to such an extent that you even came out to acknowledge him as your master. Dong Huang Li was stupefied by Qing Su. This, please accept me as your disciple, little revered. Qing Su pleaded once again. That pious look of his was truly shocking. Yihua stopped his footsteps and looked at Qing Su while feeling helpless in his heart. This fellow is truly capable of doing anything. Dong Huang Li looked towards her father and was a bit at a loss as to what to do. It seemed a little strange for a subordinate of his father to ask him to be his disciple. Yihua gave Qing Su a do-as-you-see-fit expression. This kind of thing was a subordinate's voluntary action, and for Qing Su to do such a thing was also a normal situation. Therefore, his daughter could do as she saw fit. Qing Su saw that little senior was not speaking. He thought that little senior was not willing, so he hurriedly said, I really admire little senior. It's true, I can swear to the heavens that I am also a poison cultivator, and when I saw little senior's martial arts competition, I was simply unable to hide the surging emotions in my heart. Therefore, I can only take you as my master. I hope that little senior can accept me. Everyone was already used to Qing Su's passion for refining poison. As long as he could be of help in refining poison, he would do anything. Ah, you also know poison? Speaking of concocting poison, Dong Huang Li's interest was immediately piqued. After all, it wasn't easy to find a like-minded person. That's right, that's right. I'm proficient in concocting many different kinds of poisons. Little Honorable, we can discuss the profoundness of concocting poisons together. Qing Su started to boast. There's a chance, there's definitely a chance. Dong Huang Li laughed coquettishly, since it's just a discussion, there's no need for me to take you as my teacher. It's fine for us to just exchange our experiences with each other. Ah, this isn't good, right? There's nothing bad about it. This is also scientific research, right? Dong Huang Li helped Qing Su up from the ground. All of Qing Su's subordinates admired Dong Huang Li. Right now, Zi Shan was also incomparably excited. In the past, when I was together with Yi Hong, would often bully Yi Hong, and I even felt that Yi Hong was a good-for-nothing. But after Yi Hong left, only then did Zi Shan realize one thing, and that was that Yi Hong was already inseparable from her life. Without Yi Hong, even the sky would lose its color. Of course, there was also Dou Fushi and Lai Gu. Both of them were looking forward to the return of their loved ones. It has been so many years, and it has truly been hard on them. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. I am finally coming back. These people have returned triumphantly. The decision I made back then was still the right one. Only by experiencing life and death can one become stronger, and only then can one realize what one wants. Everyone looked at Yihua, who was smoking, and none of them made a sound. As the ashes of the cigarette fell onto the ground, Yihua extinguished the cigarette with his foot. Then, with a wave of his hand, a huge black hole appeared in the middle of the spacious and empty venue. Everyone's gaze was looking at the black hole, because they were going to walk out from the black hole with their own glory. Suddenly, a sharp aura spread out from the black hole. This aura carried killing intent, it carried steadiness, and it carried respect towards Yihua. A huge gale suddenly started blowing at the venue, and the sky gradually darkened. Because the aura was becoming stronger and stronger, the entire Wushu Empire could sense it. It wasn't that those people were trying to act cool, but rather, living in that kind of world, one had to maintain vigilance at all times. If not, one would only die, thus, one had to be prepared to fight at all times. Everyone looked at the black hole, and suddenly, a figure appeared from within. It was a figure that did not have any arms. Yihua knew that other than his little brother, there was also LV Shu who did not have any arms. However, his little brother was currently the boss of the team, thus, Yi Juetian slowly walked out of the black hole. Chapter 13-17. Everyone looked at Yi Juetian and discovered that Yi Juetian had changed. He had really changed. Even his entire temperament had changed. If the Yi Juetian in the past was just an ignorant child, then the current Yi Juetian would be able to take on a lot of responsibilities. Gong Yu was already sobbing uncontrollably. If not for her son supporting her, she would have already sat on the ground. Lu Jing's heart was aching. If it was possible, she still hoped that little Tian would still be the little Tian in the past. The current little Tian seemed to be filled with too much killing intent. The scars on his face, the broken arm, all of these represented the many years of experience that he had gone through. Yi Hua looked at his own younger brother and unconsciously nodded his head. This is what a man should be like. In the past, he was just a sissy, and he actually liked that kind of sissy. Right now, this is what a hero should be like. If Yi was still alive, she might have liked him. As for Yi's matter, it was better not to tell little Tian. Although Yi Hua gave little Tian a broken jade, that broken jade would never respond to him. After all, Yi was already gone, and no one would break that broken jade. As for those people in the city, Yi Hua didn't mention them anymore, so he was slightly more at ease. However, Yi Hua also knew that the truth could not be concealed forever, and there would be a day when little Tian would find out about Yi's matter. After all, the reason why little Tian was able to go and train was all because of Yi. However, it was not easy for Gong Yu too. She had been raising a child by herself for so many years, and everyone knew how much hardship she had suffered. This was different from Dong Huang Baiji back then. Dong Huang Baiji had been raising a child by herself for 3 years, while Gong Yu had been raising a child for 12 years. Dong Huang Baiji understood Gong Yu's feelings the most. However, the difference was that Dong Huang Baiji held a grudge against Gong Yu for those 3 years, while Gong Yu was worried about Gong Yu. The 4 children looked at this unfamiliar uncle and seemed very surprised. Because they didn't know that this uncle actually looked exactly the same as their father. This is simply too mystical. No wonder Yi also looks so similar to their father, so it turns out that their father and uncle are exactly the same. But this uncle looks so powerful. His expression is so dignified. I feel that he is even cooler than my father. Yi Juetian walked out of the black hole and looked at the familiar palace. This palace would appear in his dreams every day, and of course, a beautiful figure would also appear in his dreams. Right now, I have completely changed and returned. I am no longer the Yi Juetian from before, and I have the strength to protect you. A soft sobbing sound attracted Yi Juetian's attention. Looking towards the source of the voice, Yi Juetian's entire body trembled. That's Gong Yu. Gong Yu was actually released by Big Brother. How could this be possible? But the boy beside Gong Yu, who is he? They look alike. Could it be? Although Yi Juetian was thinking of Yi in his heart, when he saw Gong Yu and Yi beside him, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Yi Juetian slowly walked up the stairs, and when he saw Gong Yu crying bitterly, he didn't know what he was feeling. In this world, not only Yi, there is also Gong Yu. This woman is also waiting for me to return home. At this moment, Yi looked at his unfamiliar father from a close distance. His gaze was very complicated. He missed his father, but he also had complaints. Why did he make his mother wait for so long? Father, don't you have your mother in your heart? Then why did I appear? Gong Yu. Yi Juetian slowly raised his left hand, wanting to touch Gong Yu's beautiful hair, but then he stopped. He felt that he had let Gong Yu down, and that he did not deserve this kind of action. Gong Yu, on the other hand, did not have that kind of thinking. While choking with sobs, she threw herself into Yi Juetian's embrace and let out a happy yet sorrowful cry. Yi Juetian used his only left hand and lightly patted Gong Yu's back. I'm back. I have been waiting for you to come back. I have been waiting for you every day. Gong Yu's voice was trembling, and this trembling seemed to be because she was afraid that everything in front of her was fake, and that this was her own dream. Because this method of meeting, she had already dreamt of it countless of times, Hearing Gong Yu's trembling voice, Yi Juetian's heart trembled. In actuality, when he was at the other side, the one he thought about the most was Yi, and Gong Yu was really very little. However, after seeing the current Gong Yu, only then did Yi Juetian know how much of a scumbag he was. I shouldn't disappoint Gong Yu, and also, Yi, quickly come over and greet father. Gong Yu finally remembered that her son was by her side, and hurriedly pulled her son over. Yi Juetian was only guessing just now, but after hearing Gong Yu personally say it, he was completely dumbfounded. I actually have a child. And it's already so big, no wonder Big Brother let Gong Yu out, so it was because Gong Yu was pregnant. Indeed, if Gong Yu wasn't pregnant, then Yi Juetian shouldn't be able to see Gong Yu here. Yi looked at the tall and big father in front of him, and wanted to call out the word father, but no matter what, he was unable to call out the word. To a child who had never seen his father before, this situation was indeed very normal, because Yi was very panic-stricken in his heart. Gong Yu, it has been hard on you for so many years, what is the child called? Yi Juetian looked at his own child. That child's appearance is extremely similar to me and Gong Yu, but the little fellow seems to be angry. It's no wonder that he would be angry, after all, I only came back so late, and I let this mother and son live together for so many years. Juetian, the child's name is Yi, quickly greet father. Gong Yu seemed to be a bit anxious. In this kind of situation, I cannot be so unruly, and Big Brother is still watching from the side. However, Yi's head was lowered, and he still didn't utter a single word, as if he was a bit autistic. When Yihua saw this scene, he didn't say anything. Towards Yi, this child, Yihua had watched him grow up, and Yi treated his mother very well and was very filial. Right now, Yihua's ostracism towards his little brother was only temporary. After all, Yihua had just come back, and to the child, Yihua was no different from a stranger. You child. Gong Yu seemed to be a bit angry. My is very sensible, but today, he is acting so strangely. Gong Yu, it's alright, we still have to properly communicate with each other. Yi Juetian said with a slight smile, then stretched out his hand and stroked Yi's head. Luckily, Yi didn't avoid his father's stroking. Gong Yu nodded her head, then looked at her child confusedly. At this moment, Yi Juetian walked to Lu Jing's side, then bowed and shouted, Mother, your unfilial son has returned, sorry for making you worry. Lu Jing hurriedly held onto Yi Juetian's shoulders, then said with tears of joy, It's good that you have returned, it's good that you have returned. Xiao Tian, it has been hard on you these past few years. Mother, I have made you worry for so many years, Xiao Tian has been unfilial. Silly child, your safety is mother's greatest joy. Lu Jing said tenderly. Xiao Tian has truly grown up, and it is still Yihua who has a way to deal with him. Chapter 13:18. At this moment, Yi Juetian walked towards Yihua. After being separated for 12 years, the two brothers looked at each other. Big brother, little brother didn't disappoint you. Yi Juetian shouted respectfully. Yihua nodded his head, Xiao Tian, you didn't disappoint big brother, good job. Hearing his big brother's praise, Yi Juetian felt that all these years that he had lived for was worth it. Take a good bath later on, then bring your wife and child over to eat. Yihua patted onto his little brother's shoulder. It really isn't easy. Yes, big brother. Are these big brother's children? Yi Juetian looked at the 4 children. Yihua nodded his head, what are you waiting for? Uncle. The 4 children obediently called out. Although they were not familiar with this strange uncle, they felt that he was quite easy to get along with and was not a person of power. Yihua stood at the side and introduced the children. When Yi Juetian looked at his big brother's children, he couldn't help but feel moved in his heart. At that time, I knew that big brother told the children to rely on themselves. I reckon that it hasn't been long since big brother came back. Such a small child. Thinking about it, big brother is quite heartless. When I was at his age, I was still playing with mud. Yihua looked at the black hole and waited for everyone. Of course, there was also a rather special person, and that person was the guardian. Little Tian. Big brother, what's wrong? What is the situation with the guardian that is following you all? Yi Hua asked faintly. Yi Juetian was puzzled. Big brother, you know about this? I, absolute heaven, am the one who is tracking him. Yi Juetian had thought that his big brother had really abandoned the group of people, but I didn't expect that his big brother was also that kind of person who had a sharp mouth but a soft heart. He doesn't seem to know anything, Yi Juetian said in a low voice. You don't even know your own name? Yi Hua asked gravely. Yi Juetian nodded. Yes. How's his strength? Very strong. Yi Juetian could only give this answer. It was impossible for him to determine Xiao Chen's true strength, and he would only know after trying. Yi Hua didn't continue asking. There seems to be a bit of a problem with this guardian. At the very least, the other guardians know my name, while this guardian doesn't even remember my name. Let's wait and see first. Yi Hua transmitted a message to his subordinates, telling them to be on guard in case any accidents were to occur. The next person to walk out was Tang Wei. Compared to before, the current Tang Wei did not appear weak. Instead, she gave off a completely new aura, appearing just like a female god of death. Training in such a place could indeed change a person. After all, one had to face death every day. If one could not change this, then this person would be more awesome. Tang Wei glanced at Wei Chang, who was in the team. Wei Chang also did the same, his gaze locked onto Tang Wei. Sparks flew in the air as their gazes collided, but it was not the sparks of love. Wei Chang was taken aback. Because Tang Wei suddenly disappeared from where she stood, a scarlet long blade suddenly appeared in her hand, and directly chopped towards Wei Chang. Everyone was stunned by this sudden incident. Dong Huangli was very confused. Didn't Uncle Wei and Tang Wei have a very good relationship? Why did Tang Wei kill Uncle Wei the moment she came back? Did Uncle Wei find a mistress? It was possible. Although Tang Wei looked soft and weak, she was still very conservative in this aspect. As for how his father could look for him so openly, perhaps it was because his mother spoiled him. Or perhaps it was because his father's acting skills were too good, he was able to deceive his mother every single time. Wei Chang seemed to know why Tang Wei was like this. Back then, I was in my betrayal period, and it was also during that period that Tang Wei went to train. Seems like Tang Wei's temper was very big. If not, I will chop down on Wei Chang to calm down. After all, I am also a bit in the wrong. Wei Chang did not move at all and allowed Tang Wei to chop down on him. The ferocious long blade emitted out a scorching aura, and Wei Chang's hair was blown into a mess by the aura of the blade. Whoosh! At this moment, the world seemed to have quietened down. This is too scary. Tang Wei's long blade stopped on top of Wei Chang's head, almost splitting open his head. Why didn't you dodge? Tang Wei asked coldly. Wei Chang stared at Tang Wei, then suddenly stretched out his hand and hugged onto Tang Wei's waist. And then, he actually kissed Tang Wei in front of everyone. The single dogs felt their hearts clenching. Kissing in front of his honor, this is simply too savage. If you have the ability, find me a girlfriend and do this too. Not right, you seems to have returned. Perhaps, if she doesn't like Zhu Tian anymore, I will be able to snatch her away. Thinking about it, there seems to be a bit of a possibility. God Yi suddenly held onto Lu Xian's small hand tightly, causing Lu Xian's heart to tremble. What is this fellow trying to do? Could it be that he wants to learn from Uncle Wei and kiss? Isn't this too fast? No, I must reject him, but with so many people rejecting God Yi, it seems like they are not giving God Yi any face. The kiss seemed to be very long, and everyone stopped looking at it. In front of everyone, at this moment, Yi Hong walked out from the black hole. Compared to the past, Yi Hong appeared to be very calm and steady, and seemed to have a sense of responsibility. Furthermore, there was even a strong sense of self-confidence, which was not present in the past. When Zishan saw that Yi Hong appeared and did not have any broken arms or legs, she was incomparably happy and immediately rushed over. With tears at the corner of her eyes, Zishan floated in the air. Yi Hong naturally saw Zishan as well, and her stern face that was filled with killing intent became gentle. Zishan opened up her arms and tightly hugged onto her lover, as if she wanted to fuse into her lover's body. Alright, they kissed again. Next, it was time for Li Hun to appear. When Do Fushi saw that his wife had returned, he was so happy. You two are kissing, I am going to give my wife a hug and a kiss too. Thus, Do Fushi also rushed over. However, an accident happened. Li Hun, who was very strong, actually pressed onto Do Fushi. This caused Do Fushi to be dumbfounded. Wife, what are you doing? What am I doing? You went out to fool around, and there was no news of you at all, so why are you still asking me? When did I go out to fool around? On the other hand, you have already been out for 12 years. Li Hun snorted, then forcefully kissed Do Fushi without saying anything else. This caused Do Fushi to feel both happy and depressed. Why is it that Li Hun is the one who takes the initiative every time? Am I, Do Fushi, not a man? Do I, Do Fushi, not care about face? I, Do Fushi, am also a respectable person, alright? And I even did it in front of so many big shots. Soon after, 3 beautiful figures walked out. Lai Gu's eyes lit up. My wife has returned. All of you are giving me a French kiss, I have to go and kiss them as well. All of you kiss one, I, Lai Gu, will kiss 3. This is how strong I am, the kind of strength that needs no explanation. The entire scene seemed to have turned into a sea of passionate kisses. Gong Yu covered her son's eyes, but her gaze was also looking towards Yi Juetian. It seemed like Yi Juetian also wanted to receive a kiss from Yi Juetian, even if it was just a light tap on the lips of Yi Juetian. However, Yi Juetian didn't seem to have such thoughts, and this caused Gong Yu to feel a bit down. Chapter 13:19. Yi Yi, who was at the side, seemed to be able to sense his mother's depression and said softly, Father, mother also wants to. Gong Yu went into a daze, and immediately, her face and ears turned red. This how could you say it out loud? Yi Juetian went into a daze. My son, actually called me just now. Oh my God. Father knows. Yi Juetian smiled. After that, he glanced at Gong Yu. Gong Yu immediately lowered her head shyly, not daring to look straight at him. However, Yi Juetian gently lifted Gong Yu's chin. Gong Yu closed her eyes tightly, the nervousness in her heart as if this was the first time she had kissed him. Yi Yi looked at his parents, and finally, a smile appeared on his face. God Yi finally could not take it anymore. He turned his head and kissed her, causing Lu Xian'er's eyes to almost pop out. This guy really kissed her. If she pushed him away, it would definitely not work. Bastard. To actually choose this time, how shameless. Couples seemed to be infected at this moment. They all hugged and kissed each other to express their love for each other. However, Yihua didn't do that. He was silently looking at his subordinates. If a subordinate's emotions were stable, that would mean the stability of the team. In the past, these fellows didn't have any emotions at all, and right now, for them to be able to bring out their emotions to such an extent, it is truly not easy. Dong Huangli and Yi Yan looked at their father and mother. At a time like this, shouldn't the two of you do something? Dad, you are the eldest. You have to take the lead. Dong Huangli thought to herself, father and mother couldn't have gotten into a conflict, right? At this moment, Qingya and the others also looked at Yihua, and when they discovered that Yihua actually didn't move at all, Qingya and the others became angry in their hearts. Could it be that you want us to take the initiative to send ourselves to him? Using Yihua's words, this is your honor. Lu Jing looked at her eldest son and daughter-in-law and sighed in her heart. Although they seemed to be together all these years, she felt that there was a gap between them. This wasn't a good situation. A happy marriage required two people to manage and maintain it. Looking at Yi Hua and the others, their feelings for each other were getting weaker and weaker. Just looking at them makes me feel vexed. Lu Jing was not the only one who was worried. Even the children were a little worried. Their parents were really abnormal. As a daughter and son, they had to help their parents. Once again, a beautiful figure walked out of the black hole, causing absolute heaven to be overjoyed. Of course, there was also the pig liver prawn. The two of them actually rushed forward at the same time. This made everyone feel that there would be a good show to watch. These two fellows were going to fight today. Dongfang Yuan stepped out of the black hole, and the first thing that entered her eyes was Zhu Tian, and it was even Pig Liver Tang. In terms of appearance, absolute heaven was much better than Pig Liver Mantis. If it were not for the fact that he had arms and legs, he would really look like a pig. You're back, Zhu Tian and Pig Liver Centipede said at the same time. After that, the two men glared at each other. Dongfang Yuan looked at Zhu Tian and said gently, Zhu Tian, I'm back. All right then, it would seem that absolute heaven was still the victor of the first round. After all, the emotions were right there. How could Pig Liver Danglong interfere? Absolute heaven coldly snorted as he looked at the pig liver hyena. You are even thinking about my woman? Are you courting death? Hence, absolute heaven immediately embraced Dongfang Yu and declared his sovereignty without saying anything further. This is my, absolute heaven's, woman. Whoever dares to touch her, I won't even give face to the heavenly emperor. Pig Liver Macaque was so angry. He originally thought that Dongfang Yuan had gone to train, but that was because he was angry. Perhaps after 12 years, his feelings for her had faded. In the end, I didn't expect that not only did this feeling not fade, it even solidified a little. If that's the case, wouldn't I have no chance at all? What is so good about this absolute heaven? Isn't he just a little handsome? Can being handsome be used to make a living these days? Pig Liver Macaque, this is the beauty of the soul. What do you know about the beauty of the soul? This is such a sublime kind of beauty that you actually don't know how to appreciate it. Just look at that blue sky red, there are women who can understand his beauty of the soul. Why is there no one who can understand my, Pig Liver Macaque's, beauty of the soul? Pig Liver Macaque, don't believe it. How about listening to me say a few words? Ignored, the two of you are more or less done. Kissing each other like this in front of an outsider, let me finish my words. Pig Liver Macaque said gravely. He really doesn't give me any face at all. Dongfang Yuan finally let go of Zhu Tian, then looked at Pig Liver Macaque and said, I'm sorry, you are a good person. Pig Liver Macaque, what is a true team? That is bad friends. Following Dongfang Yuan's words, everyone stopped kissing and actually burst into laughter. A trace of a smile appeared on Yihua's face. This is the relationship between Zhu Tian and Dongfang Yuan. How can you possibly step in? Don't even think about it. The Pig Liver Macaque stared blankly at Dongfang Yuan. This was simply too frivolous. Women are all big pig trotters, they all like handsome men. They are all superficial, I won't give up. Pig Liver Mantis said solemnly. He even looked at Zhu Tian and said in a deep voice, Pig Liver Mantis, am not going to beat around the bush. I just like your wife. Everyone, at this moment, Yihua said gravely, Pig Liver Roast, it's almost done. Since his honor has already spoken, Pig Liver Macaque looked at Zhu Tian and snorted coldly. You clearly already have Brett, and there's still another one called what's his name, and yet, you are still forcibly occupying Dongfang Yu. You are such a greedy man, and yet, Dongfang Yu actually likes you. Why does no one like my pig liver, in this age where people look at their faces? After the Pig Liver Macaque left, Zhu Tian lightly held on to Dongfang Yu's delicate hand, walked to his seat, and wait for the guardian. Furthermore, it was the finale. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then looked at the black hole silently. Right now, Ren Yao still didn't know what was going on, but a familiar aura entered into her brain, causing her eyes to reveal a look of surprise. This aura, could it be? A man who was wearing a black gown slowly walked out of the black hole, and a powerful pressure was emitted from his body, seemingly as if he was trying to show off his power. There was no fear in his eyes, and he seemed very ordinary. Even when facing Yi Hua and the others who were using cheats, there wasn't a single bit of apprehension in the slightest. Towards the guardian that suddenly appeared, the entire team was very surprised. This guardian is different from Ren Yao. Yi Hua even felt that this guardian is a bit more different from that Su Jiao and that execution ground. Furthermore, it isn't just a bit more different. Big brother, this is that guardian. Yi Juetian said in a low voice. This guardian, do you think that he is kind or malicious? Yi Hua asked faintly. Yi Juetian wrinkled his brows. Thinking about how he and the others had been saved by the guardian before, he said, I think that he should be kind. Little Tian, you can't judge a person by their appearance. Perhaps, he was trapped in that place, and he used the same method that he used to save you all to come out from that place. Yi Hua said boldly. Yi Juetian's expression sunk. That shouldn't be the case, right? In this world, there is nothing that is absolute, and all kinds of accidents exist. Chapter 13:20. Just as the two brothers were chatting, the guardian looked towards Ren Yao, and Ren Yao also looked towards the guardian. The two of them seemed to have some sort of connection. Ren Yao looked as if he had lost his soul as he slowly walked towards the guardian. This scene caused everyone to go into a daze. Soon after, they adjusted their state of mind and prepared to face the unexpected situation. Ren Yao, what are you doing? Yi Zizi suddenly shouted out. However, Ren Yao still walked towards the guardian woodenly. Yi Zizi felt that Ren Yao was her little brother, so how could she allow anything to happen to Ren Yao? Her petite body immediately rushed over, seemingly wanting to stop Ren Yao's strange actions. However, a black figure suddenly appeared behind Ren Yao, blocking in front of Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi was not a kind person, and she immediately swung her fist towards the guardian. I'm not bragging, but if this fist were to hit the guardian would definitely lose his life. After all, everyone present at the scene had to admit that Yi Zizi's fist was rather hard. Even the guardian wouldn't be able to withstand it. But... bang! A muffled sound suddenly rang out, and a berserk gale spread out with the two of them as the center. Looking at this situation, everyone was astonished, even Yi Zizi revealed an expression of disbelief. Because the guardian in front of her actually used his palm to receive the fist. Just like rock paper scissors, the paper won. Your strength is not small. The guardian looked at Yi Zizi and said faintly. Although Yi Zizi was very shocked, that fist just now was just a normal attack. If you have the ability, receive my second fist, the second fist that will take your life. Zizi, come back. Yi Hua said faintly. Looking at the current situation, it seems like I can stop some bad things. But so what? Some things need to be settled, and not stopped. Only by settling things can I feel at ease. Yi Zizi turned her head around and looked at Yi Hua with a puzzled look in her eyes. Why, come back? Yi Hua shouted out again. This is clearly an order, and I'm not joking around with you, Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi looked at the guardian in front of her, and with a heavy breath, she snorted coldly and returned to the group. The guardian silently took a look at Yi Hua, then placed his hand on Ren Yao's shoulder. A beautiful radiance suddenly spread out, and Yi Hua could feel that this was a very strong power. What was this guardian doing? What he wanted to do was to make Ren Yao perfect. After all, Ren Yao was an imperfect guardian. If her strength was halved, nothing would taste good. But now, to Ren Yao, the half of the power that had disappeared was continuously flowing into her body. It felt like she had become a human, not a half-human half-ghost. Everyone was also very surprised. Was imparting power like this? This guardian was a little too amazing. Just how strong must it be to be able to transmit so much energy in one go? Yi Hua waited silently and did not say anything. As for Yihua's subordinates, as long as Yihua gave the order, they would be able to press these two guardians onto the ground and rub them against each other. However, Yihua didn't say anything all this while, and this caused the subordinates to not dare to act rashly. Could it be that he was just going to watch? That was obviously the case. After about 10 minutes, the brilliance gradually dimmed. Yihua slightly narrowed his eyes. I want to see what exactly this person is trying to do. If he could do it now, that would be for the best. He would be able to settle it immediately and prevent any future troubles. Right now, Renyao seemed to have become much more clear-headed. Looking at her hands, countless powers seemed to be surging out from her body. This feeling, seems to be able to be lawless. If Yi Zizi were to throw another punch at me, I definitely have the confidence to receive it. As a guardian, to actually lose half of your strength, this is truly a shame. The guardian said faintly. This sentence was clearly meant to lecture Renyao. What are you doing? Renyao didn't seem to dare to refute, not knowing why. She didn't dare to refute, as if the man in front of her was her boss, and she had to listen to him. If not, the consequences would be very serious. At this moment, Yihua asked faintly, Guardian, what are you trying to do? The guardian's gaze shifted towards Yihua, and without a trace of fear, he said faintly, I am merely looking for my companions. And then? What and then? The guardian asked. And then what do you plan to do? And then? I haven't thought about it clearly yet, but perhaps, I will think of it after I have found all of my companions. The guardian raised his head and looked at the sky, appearing to be at a loss. Hearing that, Yihua remained silent for a while, then said faintly, Go and look for them then. Naturally. The guardian said lightly. Could it be that I still have to stay and eat with them? Towards this guardian, Yi Juetian and the others had lived together for 12 years. If one were to say that they didn't have any feelings for the guardian, that would be impossible. However, the guardian seemed to know what those people wanted to say, and he said, I only saved you all for the sake of coming out. There are only benefits between us, there are no other factors. Therefore, there is no need to say anything. Following the guardian's words, everyone who had just returned became speechless. Is it really only because of benefits? Back then, when you saved us, you didn't know that there was a guardian here, so at that time, what was the reason for you to save us? Could it be that you didn't do it out of kindness? However, facing the cold-hearted guardian, everyone didn't seem to have any plans to say anything. I feel a bit disappointed in my heart, and also a bit stifled. Wasn't Renyao the same as well? I have lived here with everyone for 12 years, and right now, I am going to leave just like that. I am truly a bit reluctant to part with this place. However, there are some things that I really have no choice about. If I am allowed to choose, perhaps, living here forever is also a pretty good choice. However, Renyao knew that perhaps, in my next life, I might be able to fulfill my wish, but in this life, I might not be able to. Goodbye, this adorable imperial palace, farewell forever, my friends. The guardian and Renyao disappeared from where they were just like that, and no one knew where they went. However, Yihua knew that the next time they meet, it would be a situation where they would have to fight to the death. Today, there would be a reunion, and there would also be a separation. However, the joy of the former was more than the sorrow of the latter. I will think about the future matters in the future. Right now, I have to properly celebrate the children's return, celebrate the return of all of my subordinates. Alright, let's go and eat, we will settle this matter after we eat. Yihua said faintly, then turned around and left by himself. The children discovered that the current father, when did he become a loner? He seems to be a bit unsociable. Why didn't mother say anything at all? Look at how much pressure father is under right now. Mother shouldn't be acting like this, she should be empathizing with father. Chapter 13:21. Sigh. The children hurriedly caught up to Yihua and used their own methods to communicate with their father. Daddy, how about we let Yan handle this matter? Daddy, I can help you as well. Dong Huangli said seriously at the side. I am no longer a child now, and I can take charge of things by myself. God Yi and Yilu also expressed that they can help their father as well. This way, their father won't have to work so hard. Yihua could feel the children's concern, and his heart felt warm. This is much better than your mother. Children, Daddy naturally knows what you all are thinking in your hearts. However, the opponent this time is not someone that you all can handle. Therefore, let Daddy do it. However, this will be the last time Daddy will help you all. In the future, you all will have to settle things by yourselves, understand? Hearing what their father said, why do the children feel that their father is planning to retire? Indeed, Yihua indeed wants to retire. Sometimes, when I feel tired, I really want to have a good rest. I don't have to think about those troublesome matters, and I don't have to think about what will happen in the future. Right now, the children already have the ability to take responsibility. I can be more at ease. Because the children and subordinates are returning, Yihua planned to hold a big celebration, and the scale was just like having a reunion dinner. Blood Demon was also happy to do so. After all, little sovereign has returned. It should be, right now. There was even a specialized banquet hall in the palace for groups to celebrate during festivals. There was a KTV, and the gorgeous disco lighting made the place look extremely retro. Right now, a unique rhythm sounded out from the speakers, and it seemed very cheerful. The subordinates were dancing on the dance floor, and everyone's face was filled with joy. Suddenly, the music changed, and it became a bit romantic. Needless to say, pairs of couples were hugging each other and lightly swaying, expressing their love for each other. Even God Yi was among them, hugging the shy Lu Xiener. If they put in more effort, 10 months later, they might really be able to give birth to a grandson for Donghuang Baiji. Yihua would also have a third generation. What an exciting thing. Using Yihua's words, the flame of the Supreme Overlord will never extinguish. Right now, Yi Juetian was hugging Gong Yu and lightly swaying. Although he didn't know how to dance, he was still able to sway along with the music. Right now, the most important thing was to experience that romantic atmosphere. There were also cameras recording the good times. However, Yihua didn't go over to make love with his wife. Instead, he sat by himself at the side, drank a little wine, smoked a little cigarette, and seemed to be very happy. Qingye and the others were sitting not far away from Yihua, and they were currently chatting with each other in low voices. However, none of them went to coax Yihua. This wasn't the first time such a situation had happened. It had been like this for the past few years. The subordinates were all worried that his honor and his honor's wife would break up with each other. Dong Huangli couldn't stand watching anymore. Daddy looks so pitiful. Why is mommy like this? Wasn't your relationship very good in the past? Even if you quarreled, you would make up in a very short period of time. But now, this is simply the prelude to a divorce. Dong Huangli didn't want to see her father and mother getting divorced. Therefore, she hurriedly arrived in front of Donghuang Baiji and said solemnly, "Mom, I have something to tell you." Seeing that her daughter had come over, Donghuang Baiji immediately revealed out a happy smile. "Ali, what's the matter? Is it because there's a boy you like, but you're too shy to say it?" "Mom, please be a bit serious, I'm very serious," Dong Huangli said solemnly. This matter was related to the harmony of the family. Donghuang Baiji went into a daze, then nodded her head. "All right, Mom will be serious." "Ali, you go ahead and tell me." "Mom, are you planning to leave Dad?" Dong Huangli asked straightforwardly. This caused Qingye and the others who were beside her to go into a daze. Donghuang Baiji slowly returned back to normal, then rubbed onto her daughter's forehead. "Silly child, what are you talking about? How can Mom possibly leave Dad? Then, aren't you paving the way for Dad to leave you right now?" Dong Huangli said gravely. Dong Huangli felt that every couple would ignore each other because they were in a cold war. After a long time, their feelings would fade, and by then, they would have nothing left. No matter how strong their love was, it wouldn't be able to withstand this kind of consumption. Just like right now, Mom feels that it's fine, but Dad feels tired. If Dad gets tired that day and doesn't want you anymore, you will know that you were wrong. Mom, I don't. Dong Huang Baiji said subconsciously. Dong Huang Li pointed at the dance floor, then pointed at Dad. Mom, look, you don't. The more Dong Huang Li spoke, the angrier Dong Huang Li became. As the boss, there are a lot of things that I have to deal with tomorrow, and I have to make plans for the future. Mom, it's fine if you don't want to help Dad, but you even chose to watch Dad when he was lonely. Ali is truly disappointed in me. Looking at Ali, who left in a fit of pique, Dong Huang Baiji didn't expect that right after her daughter came back, she would immediately start lecturing me, and furthermore, it was all for her father, Yi Hua. Back then, it was your heartless father who abandoned you all in the distant south, and even told us not to go and visit you all. Not only did you not blame Dad, you even blamed Mom for neglecting Dad. As expected, Mom is always here to deliver express delivery. Dong Huang Baiji took a look at Yi Hua. Perhaps it was because Dong Huang Baiji was enlightened by her daughter's words, she felt that the current Yi Hua was a bit pitiful. Look at how happy the subordinates are, and yet, this boss is actually sitting at the side and drinking wine to drown his sorrows. Meanwhile, the four madams were just watching from the side. Dong Huang Baiji didn't know when this kind of situation started, but it gradually became a kind of habit. Once this kind of habit was formed, it seemed that it would be impossible to change it. In actuality, what Ali said is very correct. Xin Yutong agreed with what Dong Huang Li said. If this continues on, it will indeed not be good for the relationship between husband and wife. Qian Yuqing nodded her head. In the past, I had always been thinking about Yi Hua, but ever since I wasn't able to conceive a child, there had been a grudge in my heart. Perhaps it was because of this that I got angry, and coupled with Yi Hua not coaxing me, it resulted in the current situation. So what do you plan to do? Shall we go over and coax him? Qinya looked at Yi Hua's side view, and in actuality, she was feeling a bit of pain in her heart as well. Dong Huang Li's words really woke the four women up. Don't be too arrogant. When the time comes, Daddy doesn't want you all anymore. You all will know that you were wrong, and you all will also know how lucky you all were in the past. However, just when the four women were preparing to move, Lai Gu rushed in front of Yi Hua, directly pulled onto Yi Hua's hand, and just like that, he dragged Yi Hua onto the dance floor. The children were all stupefied by what they saw. Uncle Lai Gu still has such a trick up his sleeve. However, it was only at this moment that Yi Hua wouldn't get angry, and he would even tease him a bit. Your Honor, how about we dance awkwardly? Lai Gu grinned and said. Chapter 1322. His Honor knows how to awkwardly dance? That doesn't exist. Therefore, I want to see His Honor's embarrassing state. After all, it isn't that easy to see His Honor's embarrassing state, and the opportunity to see His Honor's embarrassing state was hard to come by. Upon hearing Lai Gu's suggestion, everyone immediately became alert. Your Honor, awkward dance. Your Honor, awkward dance. Yi Hua laughed lightly. Since the two of you have chosen to dance awkwardly, come on then. I, the Supreme Overlord, will naturally not spoil the fun. Of course, Yi Hua wouldn't reject his subordinates. In any case, they were all family, there was nothing to be shy about. However, awkward dance, this is still something new. I don't think I have ever done it before. Sigh, these are all tricks that youngsters play. I, the Supreme Overlord, am already old, and I can't really play around with them anymore. Daddy, you can do it. Yi Yen shouted, cheering for me. As expected of Yi Hua's good son. Yi Hua laughed helplessly. Come on, don't be embarrassed. They were going to die of embarrassment anyway. All of Yi Hua's subordinates moved away from the dance floor, and only Yi Hua and Lai Gu remained on the dance floor. There was no way that Yi Hua would go easy on His Honor. This kind of opportunity was very hard to come by. After this period of time, I won't be able to tease His Honor anymore. Pig's liver, let's see if you can explode. Everyone, needless to say, the pig liver centipede really knew how to speak. It immediately started to show its tone, but the people around it immediately dispersed. This idiot didn't even cover his mouth. The saliva in his mouth was flying everywhere. Eat, eat, eat. Yi Hua and Lai Gu looked towards the pig liver macaque. Do you only know how to eat, eat, eat? The pig liver that already had, no longer has anything left to live for, was only thinking about having a body that was similar to Ching Su's. This way, he would be able to fill up the pain in his heart. Who would be able to understand this kind of pain? Sigh. Forget it, you guys are embarrassed. Yi Hua took the opportunity to find an excuse and hurriedly slipped away. Just now, I had agreed to it on a whim. Now that I think about it, it really is a bit embarrassing. Lai Gu suddenly suggested, Your Honor, why don't you dance with your wife and let subordinates broaden their horizons? This Lai Gu is really touching my sore spot. Doesn't he know that his honor and your wife are having a conflict right now? However, Lai Gu also wanted to use this kind of method to make his honor and his honor's wife reconcile with each other. Boss's family is blissful, and his mood would naturally be good. As expected, when Lai Gu's words came out, everyone looked towards your wife. Because, his honor is definitely willing to do it, but the problem is, Madam is definitely not willing to do it. It has already been a few years since I have seen his honor and Madam interact with each other. Now that the children have returned, Madam will definitely give his honor face, right? Dance. 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 All of Qin Ye's subordinates immediately lit up the scene. Even if Qin Ye and the others didn't want to, they had no choice but to go up. After all, they still had to give Qin Ye face. In addition to what Dong Huangli had just said, the situation was even more so. Qin Ye took a look at Dong Huang Baiji. With the current situation, it's time for me to go, right? However, just who is going to go? The four women looked at each other. It seems that after being ordinary for so many years, suddenly becoming like this, seems like I'm a bit not used to it. Yi Hua looked at his woman and sighed in his heart. The shouts that were transmitted to Yi Hua's ears made Yi Hua a bit irritated. Forget it. Yi Hua said faintly, then walked out of the dance floor. All of Yi Hua's subordinates immediately quietened down. I feel that the relationship between his honor and Madam seems to have cooled down again. Listening to his honor's tone, all of them went into a daze. The children sighed in their hearts. The relationship between father and mother seems to be even worse than what we imagined. If this continues, something bad will definitely happen. Lu Xiener pulled on to God Yi, who was beside her, and asked concernedly, Have your father and mother always been like this? No, when I left home when I was young, their relationship was still very good. God Yi said lightly. He completely didn't know why things were like this. Seems like I have to ask Big Sister to hold a pep rally and make the relationship between my parents better. Big Sister, what should we do? Why do I feel that something is amiss? Yi Yan, who was standing beside Dong Huangli, said softly. What else can we do? Mother is not giving father any face at all. Dong Huangli was a bit angry. Look at how pitiful father is. Mother is doing this, and sooner or later, she will regret it. Yi Yan sighed lightly. That's right, we are already an old married couple, yet mother is still making it hard for father to get out of this embarrassing situation. Mother is even more immature than us. That's right, we still have to think of a way. Big Sister, I heard that father, aunt, and Aunt Yuqing are unable to get pregnant. Not only father, everyone else is the same. How about you make a pregnancy medicine? Perhaps the situation might change. Yi Yan suggested. Dong Huangli wrinkled her brows. That's not right, I seem to remember that I gave a packet of medicine to Aunt last time. Hurry up and go and ask her then. Dong Huangli hurriedly went to look for Qin Yutong, then pulled Qin Yutong to the side. Ali, what's wrong? Qin Yutong's expression was also gloomy, but when she saw Ali, she revealed out a smile and asked. Aunt, do you still remember the medicine that I gave you back then? The medicine that can make you get pregnant? Qin Yutong nodded her head. I remember, it's just that I lost the medicine that you gave me. Ah. Dong Huangli's head started aching. However, Qin Yutong didn't have much hope in Qin Yutong. After all, during these few years, Qing Su had tried to make a lot of medicines, but none of them were effective. Suddenly, Qing Yutong felt that Ali was different. Perhaps, Ali is able to make it. After all, Qing Su still wants to look for Ali to become his disciple. Ali, can you make it again? I can only do this. Sigh, just what is going on with you, mother, and the others? Is there a need for you to make things like this with father? Dong Huangli said angrily, then left. Qing Yutong's head was also aching. What Ali said is indeed correct. I shouldn't have made things like this with brother-in-law. But, this matter is hard to say, big sister and Baiji. Just now, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were preparing to go and dance, but Yihua's words caused them to become angry once again. If you don't want to dance, then don't dance. I really suspect that these women's menopause has long arrived. Following the situation of his honor and his wife, the atmosphere of the dance became a bit cold. This year, the commotion was especially fierce. Furthermore, after his honor returned, his honor and his wife were able to bury the hatchet. But who would have thought that this would be adding oil to the fire? Yi Juetian looked at his big brother and sister-in-law, and he had a stupefied look on his face. How did the situation become like this? Just what happened when I wasn't around? Gongyu, just what is going on? Why did the situation become so fierce? Yi Juetian asked in a low voice. Gongyu said in a light voice with a bit of worry, big brother and sister-in-law were still fine a few years ago, but after Yutong and Yuqing were unable to get pregnant, the situation erupted. It has been like this for the past few years, and we didn't dare to go and talk to them. Mother also went and talked to them before, but it was completely useless. Now that the child has returned, it seems like the situation has not improved at all. Chapter 1323. What should we do? Yi Juetian rubbed his forehead. In the past, it was his feelings that had a problem, but now, it was actually his big brother that had a problem. It seemed that no matter who it was, they would be stumped when it came to love. Gong Yu raised her head slightly and looked at her husband. She was pondering whether she should tell her husband about Yi. She wanted to tell her husband because, after all, her husband had the right to know. However, her rationality told her that she couldn't tell her husband because the current situation was very good. If she told him, the current feeling would disappear again. Do Fusher, go and sing a song to liven things up, Absolute Heaven said softly. At this moment, they needed to liven things up. They could not continue being so dull. Floating World Do was naturally amusing. Otherwise, why would he be the one to look for trouble? Go and sing. Li Han, who was at the side, poked her husband. Hurry up and display your comical side, make his honor and his honor's wife laugh. Do Fusher hurriedly walked out. He knew that it was time for him to display his strength. Everyone, singing can wait. I, Do Fusher, would like to answer a riddle. Riddles. They had never played this before, and it immediately attracted everyone's attention. Hurry up and say it. Don't waste my time. Do Fusher nodded with a smile and asked, what is it that grows fur and peels off a layer of skin as it grows? Everyone was stunned. As males, they seemed to have thought of something. As a female, she glared fiercely at Do Fusher. This was simply driving at the slightest disagreement. Li Han was having a headache. I told you to tease his honor and his honor's wife to be happy, and yet, you actually said something like this. Do you want to die? Do Fusher hurriedly said, look at your expressions, all of you are thinking in a crooked way. It's corn, your brains are filled with unhealthy things. Everyone was speechless. Thinking about the growth of corn, it seemed to be true. Pfft! Laughter suddenly rang out in the audience. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice, and to their surprise, they discovered that the one who laughed out loud was actually Little Sovereign's girlfriend, Lu Xian. When Lu Xian saw that everyone was staring at her, her pretty face immediately felt as if it was on fire. I am no longer pure, what am I thinking about? Gaji asked calmly, Xian, what are you thinking about? I didn't think of anything. Then why were you laughing just now? Please don't say anything. Lu Xian hid behind God Yi. Just what kind of place is this? Okay, this is a grown-up place. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. This Dou Fusher is not bad, as expected of me, the Supreme Overlord, to take him in back then. When Dou Fusher saw that his honor actually smiled, he decided that he had to put in more effort. At this moment, Lai Gu was unconvinced. Dou Fusher, if you have the ability, come up with another question. I will definitely be able to answer you. As Lai Gu said that, he secretly opened Baidu. However, Yu Hua directly took over Lai Gu's phone. Alright, answer a question for me to see. Yu Hua, just whose side are you on? Lai Gu said helplessly. Are we still husband and wife? Is there anyone who plays like this? Dou Fusher said in a serious tone, the next one is scary. You'll get sick if something gets in, so you have to clean it. Everyone, needless to say, his subordinates were actually discussing it. This was definitely a serious riddle, but they didn't know what it was. Big brother, do you know what it is? Dou Fusher was very arrogant now, he actually shouted towards Lai Gu. Lai Gu pursed his lips, if you have the ability, then tell me the answer, don't talk nonsense. At this moment, Gaji hugged onto Lu Xian, and asked curiously, Xian, do you know what it is? I don't know. Lu Xian hurriedly said. You really don't know? Do you already have the answer in your head? Gaji, if you continue to be so bad, I won't like you anymore. Haha. Gaji suddenly realized that teasing girls is actually very interesting. Dou Fusher said helplessly, you don't even know about this? His honor said to use our brains. It's contact lenses. Hearing such an answer, the corner of everyone's mouth twitched slightly. That's enough, this is even possible. However, just as Dou Fusher was preparing to continue, Blood Demon who was wearing a white gown walked out and said respectfully, Your Honor, the food is ready. Yi Hua nodded his head, alright, let's go and eat first, we won't go back until we are drunk. Everyone, obediently drink your wine. Yes. Your Honor. Everyone shouted out in unison. This was also the rule of the gathering. When drinking, one must not use one's strength. Because, only when one was drunk would the atmosphere be perfect. If one didn't get drunk, then what was the point of drinking? Lu Xian was a bit confused. Why must one get drunk? Gaji felt that this was an opportunity that his father created for him. If a girl doesn't get drunk, how can a boy have a chance? Furthermore, in order to achieve the goal of getting drunk, Yi Hua specially instructed them to make a special type of wine. After all, the bodies of his subordinates were all very strong, and ordinary wine wasn't a problem for them. Seeing that all of his subordinates were present, Yi Hua felt a bit more comfortable in his heart. Although his wives were sitting beside him, the feeling was still the same, cold and indifferent. I might as well look at my subordinates and be happy. Yi Hua's table consisted of his wives and children, and they belonged to his family. 7 Deadly Sins table naturally had other subordinates as well. Yi Hua poured a cup of wine for himself. The subordinates all saw that his honor was pouring wine for himself, and not his honor's wife pouring wine for his honor. One must know that in the past, his honor's wife would be serving his honor by the side, but now, that doesn't exist anymore. From this, it could be seen that his honor's current love life isn't very perfect. Furthermore, if it was in the past, his honor would definitely teach his honor well, but looking at the current him, he can't even be bothered to do so. Right now, his honor is even prepared to give up on his treatment. Everyone, say a few words. Yi Hua stood up and said gravely. The subordinates all raised their cups and stood up, appearing very dignified. For so many years, every year's gathering has never been perfect. However, today is different. Not a single one of you came back. I am also very happy and emotional today. Speaking up to here, Yi Hua slightly paused for a moment. Happy is naturally because of the reunion, and emotional is because it isn't easy to get together. We are a group, but we are more like a big family. Therefore, for the sake of our big family, cheers! Cheers! The subordinates shouted out in unison. To be able to have such an imposing manner just by drinking wine, as expected of the drunkard that Yi Hua brought up. Evidently, a cup of wine didn't exist. As a boss, it was very normal for his subordinates to toast him. In the past, Qingya would still block a few cups of wine, but now, that was no longer possible. Yi Hua didn't need to. In any case, he had already gotten used to it after all these years. Chapter 1324. Next up was the drinking competition. This was also a tradition. As long as it was a festival like this, everyone would basically fall. If they didn't fall, it meant that the atmosphere was not up to the standard. And today, it was even more lively. After all, a lot of people had returned, and all of their emotions were contained in the alcohol. In the past, they would only drink to Yi Hua, but now that Yi Yan and God Yi had returned, they naturally had to drink to them as well. The two sons even had to help their father block the alcohol, and the most awesome one was Ali. She could drink a lot. Yi Lu was a bit lacking. After blocking a few cups of alcohol for her father, she felt a bit dizzy. No matter what, Lu Xian'er was God Ye's girlfriend, and in the future, she would be Little Honor's wife. Perhaps because they weren't familiar with each other, they didn't joke around too much, but Lu Xian'er still felt a bit dizzy. Seems like God Yi has a chance today. Your Honor, do you want to have a drink with your wife? Lai Gu started talking nonsense under the influence of alcohol. The faces of Qingya and the others were all red, but they weren't drunk yet. On the other hand, Yi Hua was a bit tipsy. After all, he drank quite a bit of alcohol just now, and his head was a bit dizzy. That's right, Your Honor should have a drink with your wife. Even Wei Chang, who didn't speak often, shouted out. Tang Wei, who was at the side, was also tipsy and fell onto Wei Chang's body. Seems like Wei Chang has a chance tonight too. Not only Wei Chang, Zi Shan had also fallen onto Yi Hong's embrace, Gong Yu had also fallen onto Yi Ju Tian's embrace, and Dong Fang Yu had also fallen onto Yi Ju Tian's embrace. I really want to take Yi Hua's place and ask for poison from Qing Su to poison Ju Tian to death. No. I want to sterilize that damned cat Ju Tian. In any case, almost all of the ladies had fallen onto their loved ones. As for what would happen tonight, of course, it would be to express their love. Probably only Yi Hua, the boss, didn't have a beauty in his embrace anymore. That was why Lai Gu couldn't help but shout out. Mom, go. Dong Huangli was cheering for her mom. Dad is the boss, so he should at least have some face. Only sensible women will be liked by men. Mom is a bit immature. Hearing her daughter's words, Dong Huang Baiji didn't have any reaction. Just because Dong Huang Baiji and the others drank a bit of wine didn't mean that Dong Huang Baiji and the others would be obedient. On the contrary, when they heard that their daughters were supporting Yi Hua, they felt very depressed in their hearts. Qingya was also the same. Qin Yutong and Xian Yuqing seemed to be planning to give face to Yi Hua. After all, there were already two people who were disobedient, and if the remaining two people were to be disobedient as well, then, it would definitely not do. However, when Yi Hua saw that the women were hesitating, he couldn't help but feel vexed in his heart. Thus, he said coldly, "Cross cups of wine. There won't be any cross cups of wine in this lifetime. Let's drink." When Yi Hua said this, the four women were immediately stupefied. In actuality, after so many years, at least 50% of the vexation that Qingya and the others felt was due to a formality, and that was marriage. How many years had they been together? It had been around 20 years. Back then, they had agreed that they were going to get married, but every time when they asked about it, Yi Hua would always be indifferent, as if he didn't want to get married. As time passed, Qingya and the others started to get annoyed, and thus, they used another kind of method to protest against Yi Hua. After hearing Yi Hua's words just now, Yi Hua said that he wouldn't get married in this lifetime. So be it. Humph. The four women snorted at the same time, stood up and left. They didn't say anything at all. This is completely not giving any face to Yihua at all. All of Yihua's subordinates were stupefied. In the past, no matter how angry Yihua's wife was, she would still accompany his honor to the end and help his honor to leave, but now, Mom. Dong Huangli and Yi Yan shouted out at the same time. Tell them to scram. Just looking at them makes me vexed. Yihua shouted out coldly, then raised his head and shouted. The atmosphere immediately became heavy, and all of Yihua's subordinates sobered up a little. Right now, Gong Yu finally understood. Big Brother is already so strict with his wife, let alone other people. Sigh, it's just that Big Brother's temper. Yihua's temper had become much better during these few years. Just now, it was Qingya and the others who angered Yihua. To be more precise, it was because Qingya and the others angered Yihua and the others continuously today that Yihua was unable to suppress the anger in his heart anymore. K, I didn't bicker with you all, and yet you all started to become arrogant and arrogant. The atmosphere of the banquet changed in an instant. Dad, don't drink too much. Dong Huangli pressed onto her father's cup, and her gaze was filled with heartache. Yihua looked at his own Ali. If your mother was half as sensible as you, I wouldn't have to worry so much. Yihua took a deep breath, then slowly placed down the cup and said faintly, the people from 7 deadly sins, stay behind. As for the others, go back and rest. It's getting late. All of Yihua's subordinates didn't dare to say anything else. They could only shout out respectfully, yes. Your Honor. Ali, you too should go back and rest as well. Yihua said towards the children. Yi Yan and God Yi were both drunk. All right, Dad, drink less, don't work too hard. Ali's heart aches just by looking at you. With a doting expression on his face, Yihua lightly caressed Ali's hair, then nodded his head. Dong Huangli carried on to her little brother God Yi. This fellow is already drunk and fainted. This idiot, if you are drunk and fainted, are you going to let Xian play by herself? Yi Lu supported onto her big brother Yi Yan, who was also drunk and fainted. Back then, before Yi Lu returned, he said that he was going to drink father's subordinates until they fainted, but in the end, he fainted before the battle even started. Soon, only Yihua and his subordinates were left in the banquet. Everyone, sit over here. Yihua said lightly. Yihua appeared to be a bit powerless. He picked up the wine cup in his hand and wanted to drink a mouthful of wine. However, when he recalled what Ali had entrusted to him, he slowly placed the wine cup down. The 7 subordinates obediently sat down. Your Honor, your wife might be drunk, don't take it to heart. Wei Cheng said in a low voice. If someone were to say that his honor didn't like it, Wei Cheng wouldn't believe it. Perhaps, his honor just didn't like it after a long time. Let's not talk about this matter anymore, I know what I am doing. Yes. Wei Cheng was terrified. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette, paused for a moment, then passed it to everyone. Other than Yi Zizi and Brett who didn't smoke, all of the other men started smoking. Zhu Tian expressed, this is his honor's order, I have no choice but to smoke. Meanwhile, Brett didn't pay attention to Zhu Tian. You just want to smoke, right? As long as you don't smoke in front of me, it will be fine. Yihua silently spat out a lump of cyan-colored smoke, and the smoke gradually dissipated in the air. It's a bit like a fleeting cloud. At the very least, the subordinates were filling in the blanks. You all have also seen what happened to Renya today. Yihua said faintly. Speaking of this matter, Yi Zizi became a bit angry. Your Honor, why didn't you allow me to kill that fellow back then? I had to get rid of the root. Yihua said faintly. All of Yihua's subordinates nodded their heads. If we don't get rid of the root, this matter will be like a fishbone stuck in everyone's heart. Chapter 1325. After all, Yihua was the strongest person that Yihua had ever met. From today's situation, the guardian that has been silent for more than 10 years seems to be making a move. Therefore, I hope that everyone will be vigilant and get rid of this factor. Do you understand? Yes. Your Honor. But what I said just now is not the main point. Yihua flicked the cigarette ash and said lightly. All of Yihua's subordinates went into a daze for a moment. This is not the main point. Could it be that there is something else? I have decided, after this matter is settled, I will retire. Yihua's tone was a bit surprised. Following Yihua's words, all of Yihua's subordinates were astonished. Retire? Perhaps people need to retire, but Your Honor has a boundless lifespan. Why do you need to retire? Furthermore, what does this sentence mean? Could it be that the group is disbanded? Zhu Tian was a bit in disbelief as he muttered, Your Honor, you are. This news came too quickly, causing all of Yihua's subordinates to be unable to accept it. After all, we have been together for so many years, how can the group be disbanded? That's right, out of the 4 children, who do you all think is the most outstanding? Yihua asked curiously. All of Yihua's subordinates did not speak, their expressions were rather grave. Could it be that I am drunk, am I dreaming? Or could it be that His Honor is drunk? For His Honor to actually ask such a question, it is very obvious that he is planning to retire. Your Honor, you are still young, why are you thinking about this? Qing Su asked confusedly. Although His Honor has been acting strangely these few years, I didn't expect that His Honor would be acting strangely to such an extent. Just what is going on with His Honor? Yihua said faintly, make a plan early, then you don't have to think about it in the future. Lai Gu felt that His Honor seemed to be making arrangements for his death. However, although Lai Gu was thinking like this, he didn't dare to say it out. After all, this wasn't something auspicious. Tell me, what do you all think? Yihua continued to ask. Wei Chang took a deep breath, then wrinkled his brows. Your Honor, if we are to choose people, subordinate feels that Dong Huang Li and Yi Yan are both not bad. God Yi and Yi Lu are more obsessed with fighting, they are not suitable to be leaders, they are more suitable to be heroes. Hearing that, Yihua silently nodded his head. What Wei Chang is thinking is the same as what I am thinking. Do you all think so as well? Yihua asked faintly. All of Dong Huang Li's subordinates nodded their heads. From the battle between Dong Huang Li and Yi Yan, all of Dong Huang Li's subordinates were able to discern something. Adding on to Dong Huang Li's performance after the battle, all of Dong Huang Li's subordinates were inclined towards Dong Huang Li. However, here comes the problem, Dong Huang Li is Dong Huang Baiji's daughter. If Dong Huang Li were to support Dong Huang Baiji's side, what would Qinya say? Let's wait and see during this period of time. Whether it's Ali or Yen, or in the future, I still hope that you can properly assist them. Yihua didn't even know what he was saying anymore. Why does it feel like I am making some final arrangements? This is truly weird. With a slight smile on his face, Zhu Tian said, Your Honor, you still have a lot of time to slowly look at it, there's no need to rush. And, when I retire in the future, you can choose whether you want to retire or not. This matter is up to you to decide for yourselves. In actuality, Yihua's words caused the subordinates to feel a bit disappointed. Today was clearly a good day, but in the end, they felt a bit upset. At this moment, Lai Gu said gravely, Your Honor, let's not talk about anything else, wherever you go, I, Lai Gu, will follow you. And, what Lai Gu said is extremely true. Your Honor. It wasn't easy for us to gather together, we don't want to disperse just like that. Wei Chang naturally still hoped to follow His Honor. Even if His Honor were to go and manage that bar again, it would be fine for me to go and become a security guard again. Seeing that His Honor was safe and sound, would be able to be at ease. If I were to say that I wasn't touched, that would be a lie. To have such a group of loyal subordinates, Yihua suddenly felt that this was the greatest fortune that he had in his entire life. Our group naturally won't disperse, after all, we still haven't stopped conquering. Alright, it's getting late, let's all go back and have a good reunion. After all, a moment of spring night is worth 1,000 gold. Yihua squeezed out a trace of a smile, then slowly stood up. However, perhaps because he drank too much, his legs became unstable. Wei Chang, who was at the side, hurriedly held on to Yi Hua. "Your Honor, are you all right? This wine that was concocted by Blood Demon is quite powerful." Yi Hua said faintly, then took the initiative to leave while smoking. However, the subordinates did not leave, and Wei Chang sat down once again. "His Honor is acting strangely. Is it because of your wife?" Pig-livered Danglong asked puzzledly. Zhu Tian extinguished the cigarette in his hand, then said lightly, "That is only one of the reasons." All these years, although His Honor didn't say anything, in actuality, he was still worried about the problem of the guardians, especially that fortune teller. That's right, that fortune teller cheated His Honor once, and that was why His Honor became vigilant. Yi Zizi said lightly. Everyone knew about this matter. To actually bewitch His Honor, this matter must not be looked down upon. That's why His Honor has been forging legendary weapons all these years to make himself more powerful. Brett took in a deep breath. What His Honor is thinking about is the big picture, and what His Honor is thinking about is that His Honor's wife doesn't understand, and that's why she is complaining. This is also normal. In His Honor's wife's eyes, His Honor is everything. However, in His Honor's eyes, there are too many things that he has to take care of, and the pressure on him is very big. Lai Gu said with a dignified tone, "But, don't you all feel that His Honor's tone today is a bit off?" Tone? That's right, it's a bit like His Honor is leaving behind his will. Lai Gu muttered, and immediately, he sensed 6 death stares. It's one thing for you to ridicule His Honor, but to actually curse His Honor to die, do you even have a bottom line? Lai Gu immediately apologized. However, after being reminded by Lai Gu, I seem to have such a feeling. While carrying this strange feeling, Lai Gu's subordinates left the banquet hall and returned to their respective homes. However, Yi Hua didn't go back to his mother's bedroom, as he didn't want to go back and quarrel with Qingye and the others. Gradually, Yi Hua walked over to his mother's bedroom. "Master." When Daji, who was standing at the entrance, saw that her master had arrived, she felt happy in her heart. Yi Hua looked towards Daji. For so many years, Daji has been cautiously and conscientiously protecting my mother. Yi Hua walked in front of Daji, then patted onto Daji's shoulder. "You haven't gone to rest yet." Master's mother hasn't gone to rest yet. Daji can't go and rest yet," Daji said respectfully. Feeling the warmth coming from Yi Hua's shoulder, Daji felt very happy in her heart. "As long as Master comes over to take a look at me from time to time, I will be satisfied. It has been tough on you." Yi Hua let out a light sigh, then pushed open the door and entered into the bedroom. Daji, who was outside, lightly closed the door, then immediately became vigilant as she observed her surroundings. Even though she knew that no one would come to assassinate her, she still appeared to be very serious. Chapter 13:26. Walking into the house, Yi Hua saw that his mother was sitting on the couch and was currently knitting a sweater. The children are already so big. They can't even fit into the sweaters they used to knit, Lu Jing said softly with a smile on her face. She appeared very gentle. Yi Hua slowly sat down beside his mother and picked up a sweater. All of these sweaters were prepared by his mother many years ago, just that, he didn't have the chance to send them over. Yi Hua, the children are already so big, how can there be any overnight hatred between a husband and wife? It isn't easy for Qingye and the others, they are already going crazy thinking about their children. You have to be considerate of them. There's also Yutong and Yuqing. They want children, but they don't. As a mother, I can understand their feelings. All in all, only when your family is happy can you do other things with peace of mind. I can't help you too much, so don't think that I'm too long-winded. Yi Hua said respectfully, "Mother, I don't dislike you for being long-winded, it's just that, my feelings for you have already faded, and I really don't know how to deal with it." Lu Jing put down the sweater, then lightly held onto her son's big hand and said attentively, "Yi Hua, this isn't that your feelings have faded, this is that love has turned into a kind of familial love. Look at people like us, our lifespan is extremely long, you and Qingye and the others have just started, in the next 1,000 years, in the next 10,000 years, you have to grasp it well. After hearing that, Yihua let out a deep breath. That's right, in terms of lifespan, this is just the beginning. He felt that his feelings for her had faded a lot now. What would happen in another 20 years? Another 200 years? 2,000 years, or even 20,000 years? Could he still maintain that feeling? Right now, even Yihua was starting to suspect, was the whole thing because of him, or were they the ones behind it? Alright, Yihua, quickly go back and rest. You drank a lot of wine again, mother is going to sleep soon too. Yihua nodded his head, then stood up and said respectfully, Mother, I won't disturb your rest anymore. Go. Communicate well. Husband and wife need to communicate. Yes. Lu Jing sighed as she watched her son leave. She couldn't help much. After walking out of his mother's bedroom, Yihua looked at Daji who was standing guard at the side and said lightly, Daji, go and rest. Yes, master. Rest early too. Yihua silently nodded his head, then walked out of the bedroom. Daji looked at her master's back and realized that her master's back was becoming more and more lonely. It was not easy for her to lose weight. I heard that tonight's banquet ended on bad terms again. How could Madame treat the host like that? Daji couldn't understand. Yihua still didn't return to his bedroom, and he was currently thinking about where he should go. Subordinates with families should not visit them, lest they disturb them. I don't have a family, there doesn't seem to be anything to say, Yi. Yihua suddenly saw a small figure and shouted out. Uncle. Yi immediately stopped his footsteps, then turned around and greeted respectfully towards Yihua. With a straight face, Yihua asked faintly, not at home in the middle of the night, what are you strolling about outside for? Father just came back. Mother asked me to come out for a walk. Yihua, to think that the two of you actually allowed your child to come out for a walk. I, the Supreme Overlord, am convinced. Where are you planning to go? Yihua asked faintly. Prepare. I'm going to take a walk outside the palace, Yi said honestly. Yihua slightly narrowed his eyes, speak the truth. I have a few friends to play with. Friend? It's my uncle. I happen to be bored, let's go and see your friends then. Ah. Why? Can't I see my uncle? Yihua asked faintly. Yes. The more Yi behaved like this, the more curious Yihua became. Going to see friends in the middle of the night? This little brat was not being honest at all. Yi silently walked in front, while Yihua smoked a cigarette and walked behind. Yi's expression slowly changed. I want to see what this child is going to do, acting so mysteriously. At this moment, beads of sweat were already appearing on Yi's forehead. I didn't expect that my uncle isn't sleeping in the middle of the night, and is actually strolling around the palace. Yihua could feel that Yi's breathing was unstable, and he became even more curious about what Yi was going to do. What else can a 12-year-old child do? Sneaking around, could it be that he is going to see a girl? Yihua felt that there was a slight possibility of that. His pubic hair hasn't even fully grown, and he already knows how to flirt with girls, he has grown up. Along the way, the uncle and nephew duo walked out of the palace just like that. Actually, it was still quite early, but today, the subordinates wanted to have a good time and got drunk, so they went to rest early. However, to the entire Wushu Empire, this was just the beginning of the nightlife. Needless to say, these few years, Wushu Empire's nightlife was quite decent. Along with the expansion of the empire, there were more and more regions. Thus, for the sake of speed, teleportation formations were also used. From this, it could be seen just how big the expansion of Wushu Empire was. It could be said that the entire North knew that Wushu Empire was the true overlord of the North, and its scale had long surpassed that of any other empire. Even the other empires were shocked by the fact that different races and humans coexisted together, especially the South. They had already classified Wushu Empire as an unstable factor, and sooner or later, Wushu Empire would be destroyed. As a huge empire, how could it not have nightlife? As the internal manager of the empire, Kaiyun was quite responsible. Kaiyun felt that whether an empire would become popular or not would depend on whether the night was bright or not. However, right now, if one were to look down at the entire north, one would be able to discover that only Wushu Empire was the brightest star. In addition to today's celebration, the entire Wushu Empire was as lively as if it was celebrating the new year. The streets and alleys were filled with people, and one could even see different races walking among the crowd. Right now, Yi Hua was a bit stupefied. When did my territory become like this? To think that no one actually told me about it. Look at these people, look at this density. What is Kaiyun trying to do? Is he trying to squeeze me to death here? Although that was what he thought, Yi Hua felt very comfortable. Originally, this was a lifeless city of death, but after the cooperation of my entire team, it developed to such a state. This is truly not bad. During the next awards ceremony, I must definitely praise Kaiyun. The entire team of South Wuchi is not bad, and they are worthy of praise. Following behind Yi Hua felt that the more he walked, the stranger he felt. Just now, it was indeed a flourishing street, but now, it had become plain and simple. However, this didn't stop the people from celebrating. There were actually even stalls set up on the street. Barbecue? This smell is familiar. Cumin? Who got it? Wait a minute. Yi Hua shouted out. No one recognized Yi. After all, Yi had never openly come out. Uncle, what's the matter? Accompany me for a drink. Yi Hua said lightly, then walked to the stall at the side. There was even a menu on the stall, and it felt pretty good. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.